Intro is go. Go ahead.
Heidi-ho, neighborinos! I'm your friendly neighborhood Nuckles87, bringing you a rip-and rolling new, earlier than expected episode of Sonic Talk. With me today is GX, Echidna. Say hello, GX, you scoundrel.
Hi. I got to introduce some non-Sonic fans to the concept of Grim Big, the giant big robot. They found it very upsetting because there was discussion coming up about the movie, and the idea is like, I don't know, for Sonic 8, there should just be like everyone's a robot now. Like, there's no events, it's just like everyone should be walking around like, hey, we've got Metal Knuckles here, and we've got Bean and Metal Big. And then I was like, oh, you think you're making a joke about Metal Big? Well, sir, I know too much, and I use that as a cudgel against people.
I was so happy when Sonic Prime brought that up. I was all like, "Hey, yeah, that's the only one we haven't gotten yet." And then he just rises from whatever.
I showed this person the clip, and they were very upset. It was great.
And also with me today is the great and glorious and feeling somewhat better Shigs Shigamoto.
2 early Christmas presents:
Shigs,
nerve pain and diarrhea.
I did not know about that second one.
And a Sonic movie. That was a Christmas gift, sort of.
Yeah, while my stomach was nauseous and having to have a fair amount of Pepto-Bismol in me, and I was 6 minutes late into the movie because I was getting my nephews their popcorn and soda.
I was gonna ask you who you upset with your wealth of Sonic knowledge, but the answer is me, and it wasn't with Sonic knowledge, it was with bodily functions.
Man, y'all are lucky I don't talk about that stuff.
He got the full Dr. Eggman costume, so he was really happy for the movie.
Anyway, just so y'all know, yes, the movie is out. We could not schedule this before the movie came out. Shigs and I have already seen it. We are not going to be talking about it, aside from maybe a few slip-ups.
We will be talking about the news, but I specifically wanted to make sure that this episode was, spoiler-free, because a lot of people are still kind of seeing it, and we are talking about a lot of Sonic news that, you don't necessarily need the context of the movie to enjoy getting to talk about the news. And
although that will make the final news item a little hard, but we can always. Well, that's what the spoiler cast is going to be for. I would assume when we do that, which is not currently scheduled because we need to get all of our ducks in a row. It's going to be bigger than just 3 of us, mostly because GX, as far as we know, still is not going.
To my understanding, I still don't have much intent to actually go see this thing. It's funny. I was expecting nothing but a universal love fest of this thing, and the spoiler room over in our Discord actually has a handful of detractors, including one over on staff that...
Yes, we have our first proper staffer who disagrees with the rest of us. Well, another reason for GX to see it.
GX.
Yes, and I'm very happy for him. It's nice having dissenting opinions. I'm wondering if we should try to get him on the show, but that might be too much. Anyway, so yeah, we are going to be movie discussion outside of news-related stuff free today, but we will be talking about other things, including what we have been playing as usual, or in GX's case, what he has been touching with his hands repeatedly for a week.
Excuse me? You want to take that again?
Building a PC.
Yeah, okay, sure. That's a way to introduce it. I don't I would not have introduced building a PC in that visceral of a way, but it's not technically incorrect, I suppose. Yeah,
It's not incorrect at all. It's completely correct. It's technically correct, which is the best kind.
Sure. Thank you, central bureaucracy. Yeah, effectively, like, hey, this was brought about by a number of factors that sort of all coalesced. I am rendering a lot of video right now, and like my CPU was very good about 8 years ago. Which is to say, it was very high. It was very high clock, but a low number of cores. And right now, a lot of the video I'm rendering is I'm trying to switch a lot of my video library over to H520 or H265, which is more intensive to actually encode, but usually tends to give you a little bit better quality per size. So number one, hey, CPUs are better now than they were like 8 years ago, and you could get a very nice one for a high price, but not an insurmountable price in the context of like PC building where graphics cards can go upwards of thousands. Otherwise, like, sorry, I am trying to solve a
Did something
issue.
break?
No, there was a bot in chat.
So. Okay, good. So I assume that you executed them.
Yes, I did.
Good.
But yeah, it was a combination of like, hey, I want to render all this video. There are AMD CPUs these days that can just absolutely tear through it. Like, I'm seeing my rendering time cut into a fourth with this new CPU, so I'm deeply happy about that. But also, like, I've been due for a good upgrade. I'm kind of hitting the limits of what I could like just do minor upgrades on my previous motherboard. Microsoft, like, I wasn't really good to actually install Windows 11 on my old PC because it didn't have all the requirements that Microsoft wanted for you to download and install Windows 11 for security reasons. And it's just old enough that like I couldn't fulfill those, so it was not applying all the updates unless I would do them like super manually. And then, fears of the political circumstance in the United States and the potential for tariffs. Tariffs will make importing things much more expensive. Do you know what the United States imports? The answer is everything. So, that basically my big fear was like, okay, if I do this now, I am deeply concerned that everything will get much more expensive later. And quite honestly, I'm almost dreading the announcement of the next Switch console. Because that's going to have to account. That's if the upcoming presidency makes good on promises that were made in the election cycle, that's going to make new hardware much more expensive. So
luckily, this is kind of some of the same stuff he said last time, and
yeah,
he only acted on a fraction of it. He just seems to like doing it to, I don't know, get his supporters to cheer from him, and like as some stupid.
I am not going to go into specific details.
Let's not make that assumption.
No, but I would rather be safe and just get my computer stuff done now whenever I know I have projects ahead of me that can use it. But it's a pretty good machine. It's this is my first time switching to a AMD processor. I had to ask because I was so used to just working with Intel that I asked several people across a couple communities I'm in, is like, So I'm hearing this stuff about. So I know what Intel went through over the summer and their nightmare of a defect on their recent chipset, basically damaging itself through use. Are we through that? And they're basically the response was like, just go with AMD. Like AMD's doing way better. You're gonna get way better value for money. Intel is not working their crap out as effectively as people need them to. If you just go with AMD, you're going to be fine. And I went with AMD and got decent RAM, got a GTX 4070, so that's going to give me some ray tracing. And it's funny because despite me having that, I do not have a 4K display. I don't even have a 2K display anywhere in this house. Everything maxes out at 1080. So, and now I have a lot of I have like a 4-monitor array that I regularly use right now, but I'm thinking like my next major upgrade is I might switch to something ultra wide and then just have 2 verticals on the side, but I'm enjoying it otherwise. It's always a
Good to hear.
It's always a big experience trying to build a new PC. Thankfully, nothing damaged in the process. No major slip-ups, no major problems with it. It's just a lot of making sure that all of my intricate configurations, especially for stuff I do for streaming, are preserved in some way. And I decided to christen my new PC with playing some Peglin, which I don't think I need to go into that because I haven't played it much. But then I switched over to Locke and Dragon Ball Fighterz. One of those is a Dragon Ball fighting game. The other is a very, very good puzzle game. Which would you rather hear about?
I guess I Dragon Ball, because Dragon Ball is cool.
I see the puzzle game because Dragon Ball's that one particular one's pretty old now.
Locke is very good. You should check out Locke. LOK.
Yeah, but it's not cool. It doesn't have Vegeta in it.
That's true. It does not have Vegeta in it. Yeah, Dragon Ball Fighterz. I obviously I'm late to the party on this. It has gone through its entire cycle, but I'm not big on multiplayer to begin with. Anything competitive.
Oh,
but,
neither am
I. Get
I.
all your updates and everything.
But as a single player,
fighters if you want it.
But as a single-player experience, it's interesting so far. I'm very early in it, and the computer is very lenient towards me. It isn't too keen on attacking me too hard, but the premise of it is, I believe it takes the story mode in it starts taking place, I believe, in the time realm of, I'm gonna say like Super. Because early on you meet up with Beerus and Whis, and oh no, there is someone who is controlling and inside Goku's body along with him, and it's you, the player character. And you have to figure out why all of the great fighters across the universe are being across the Earth are being impacted by these energy sapping waves, except for whoever is being controlled by the avatar player or whatever, and unraveling this mystery. And
doesn't the avatar player like occupy the bodies of the other characters?
Basically you link to the other characters. So far, you kind of have this weird. Do you remember Star Fox Command, where you would basically navigate a map screen and run into these Star Fox encounters, and then you would have to complete an encounter in order to like make progress in the larger meta goal of like defeat whatever in this thing. Dragon Ball's a little bit like that. Every chapter of the story, you get a certain number of nodes on the map. You navigate around. Each one takes a step or a turn or something, and you have like 20 turns to do as much as you want to do on that screen. So Like, you can fight various enemy encounters, go through various tutorials, attempt to rescue other Dragon Ball characters in order to add them to your team, and, like, level
Yamcha's
up
the
through...
best.
And level up through, like, an RPG system, but the longer you take, it will power enemies up as well, and you have kind of, like, a hard limit of, like, okay, you need to finish and beat the boss by this turn. Game's easy enough that, like, I haven't lost anything yet, so I don't know exactly what the consequence of losing is, but it's interesting. It's a reasonably easy to grasp the controls of. There's a couple, we'll say, more complicated tactics, but by and large, like, anything special is just a quarter circle. Like, I don't think I've encountered any moves that involve
I found that game extremely easy to get into and to do specials in. It's very friendly for people who are not big fighting game fans, because it's like me, because, like, I can't remember, let alone perform all those different button combinations. I never could, never will. But I can do most of what Fighterz Z lets me do.
Yeah.
So.
It's as approachable as one of those games are going to be, I think.
Yeah.
But while still maintaining, like, a nice sense of flash to it. Like, it even sets out, like, hey, it teaches you one of the most significant combos early on, which is to say, every character is going to have, like, an X, Y, B, A combo that is going to be pretty darn effective if you can reasonably pull it off. And, like, just having a combo in that manner, it's pretty good. It's pretty useful. But yeah, that's kind of... I want to make more progress in it. I've only been a couple chapters in. I've encountered Krillin. So Krillin's on my team. I've got Yamcha. I've got Tien. And I think I'm working towards recruiting Piccolo very shortly. But it was very good because as I was having a little bit of a meltdown through the concern that I might have lost some of my Sega Sonic Radio video stuff, which thankfully I did not. I was able to preserve stuff. I was able to get stuff off of my Sega Sonic Radio hard drive before it ultimately decided to go kaput. But in an effort to relieve the stress about that, I just had a good night of beating the absolute crap out of Perfect Cell with Krillin. Just it was a good stress reliever.
I bet that would be cathartic for Krillin too.
Oh, for sure.
But Yamcha, I've always found him to be actually one of the most effective fighters in the game.
I haven't played around with enough of the characters yet to feel like I'm confident with anyone in particular. I'm the type of guy who's just going to jump around between a bunch of different characters, but I'm sure over time I'll figure out. I was like, okay, I like the way that these characters move. Like Goku is as straightforward as possible, so getting to start with him has been, comfortable. He's easy to understand in the way that, like, any all-rounder is easy to understand in a fighting game. It's like, yeah, you reuse on the box because you can pretty easily grasp all that he's about, and Goku's kind of like... Goku's along those lines. Like, Krillin's fun and weird, but, like, his ki blasts are all over the place, and it's like, oh, well, this is interesting. I don't know if this is going to be effective, and I'm not sure how to put this into a plan, but it's interesting. But no, Goku's straightforward. Is like, yeah, his shots shoot forward, and you can move pretty effectively with him, and he's the basic ass fighter.
You gonna get any of the DLC?
I think I already have all the DLC except for
awesome.
except for the Avatar stuff, because I don't need the Avatar stuff.
Okay.
Though I think I was late to the party on getting any of the TV show music. Maybe I could
Aw.
figure out how to mod that in myself. No, I have took a peek at the mods, and the number one thing I do want to get for them is I want to get the mod to redress Dragon Ball GT Goku in his original Dragon Ball Orange Gi. Like that's my number one thing to have that classic ass Goku rather than the GT Goku.
Aren't there also Sonic mods? Get some Sonic characters in there.
Not many, actually. I was
Really?
I was
Huh.
surprised. No, it was shocking. Like the two that I found, like there were like two that I found. I think both of them were for either adult or teen Gohan. I think like teen Gohan, and one of them was just like. I should say both of them were really ugly. But I think on purpose to a degree. But it very much felt like, oh, Gohan's wearing a really awkward Sonic onesie rather than, oh, we put a Sonic character model in here.
Aw.
But yeah, no, I as someone who takes footage of Sonic game characters or characters modded into Sonic characters modded into games. Words are hard. Yeah, I already looked and it's like, no, I'm a little disappointed. I was thinking there would be more overlap going on here.
Yeah, really.
Maybe I will look outside of Game Banana. Maybe I'm being overly limited by my number one go-to for mods.
So, anything else?
Yeah, go try out Lock, LOK. It's a really good puzzle game. However, I will also add the caveat that, like, I regularly have conversations with one of the people helping to publish that game. So take that as my disclaimer for it. I think it's a really cool thing. I think it's a really cool puzzle, but my opinion might be tainted. So, yeah.
Okay. So Shigs, you played Yars Rising.
Played the two different Atari games. One of them I've had for a little bit, but I decided I haven't played a lot of new stuff, so I decided just till now to talk about that, and that would be Yars Rising. I got that one on the Switch. Basically, it's imagine Metroid if it was done with an annoying teenage girl who wouldn't stop talking through most of it.
Okay, but what if it had an angry Pac-Man too?
It's almost like the same concept because yeah, the Yar from Yar's Revenge is in it, but as a thing the game use the game to hack into computers, and she has a little 4-bit Yar or 8-bit Yar on her tattooed on her sleeve, which she doesn't know how it got there, so it's like a birthmark or something.
Huh.
But that's the one thing that's kind of interesting is the hacking games. They use the main Yar's Revenge 2600 template, but they keep changing out the rules and everything to how that works as a mini game, kind of like they would do something like that with WarioWare, and that makes it kind of interesting and fun. Basically, yeah, you're this green hair teenage girl going around this conglomerate corporation or tech corporation trying to take him down because they're doing some kind of bad stuff and what have you. And you have a group of hackers with you, all basically like the way multi corporations think Gen Z teenagers are. That kind of dialogue.
I can tell you,
If you played Metroid, though, I mean, it's got the same maze type level, a little bit of backtracking, but not much, which I'm very appreciative of. You don't have to go too far before you're you're back on track to going down the levels. It does open up mazes quite a ways, quite often, and so I appreciate that. It's a simpler Metroid in that sense.
Okay, so it's like a Metroidvania then.
Not even a Vania, just the Metroid.
I haven't seen this since the original. I think it was a Nintendo Partner Direct where it was revealed, and this is by Way Forward. And boy, yeah, you can tell it has that Way Forward character design.
Oh,
Yeah.
I am not saying that necessarily in a complimentary way, but boy, it does it have that Way Forward character design.
Very true. And the other Atari game I've been playing is Bentley Bears Crystal Quest, which is for the 7800 or 2600 plus slash 7800 plus. Because this year Atari put out the Atari 7800 plus, which is the exact same console as the 2600 plus as far as the guts go, just in a different shell and with the firmware more upgraded, more new. And basically, what Atari did is last year, they're branching out their retro software division. They bought up Atari Age, and Atari Age has a whole mess of homebrew carts, some of which were based off of popular brands that Atari doesn't own. So they got axed. Like they did a really good job of Arcade
Aw.
Perfect Nintendo's Popeye, which then they went, no, we can't do that. So that went. And
That sucks.
my Pac-Man trilogy, I got made sure to get that in time, and I got was it the Baby Pac-Man one that has the pinball at the bottom? They never did a home console release of that because, of course, it's based off a real pinball machine. But I managed to get that before that one. But anything that was an Atari Atari brand, they went, you know what, we like this, even though you guys made it, so we'll go ahead and sell it, and we'll give you the credit for it and everything. So that's cool. So one of them was Bentley Bears Crystal Quest, which is a sequel to Crystal Castles, a game Atari put out back in like the mid '80s. If you remember that, it's a little teddy bear with a hat on. He's circling
I do
around in these
not.
isometric mazes. He's got a bunch of enemies. He's got to be aware of. He's kind of like gobbling up these dots, almost in the
It
Pac-Man
looks like a Pac-Man
rip-off, but
clown.
not quite. But because it's kind of in a 3D isometric thing. But anyway, in this one, it's not 3D. It is a 2D, very much, very similar to the vein of a Adventure Island. You
Yeah.
grab the bear just grabs a rock, and you're jumping over platforms, tossing the rocks at different enemies. So they got a skeleton that can jump over any platform, any obstacle to come at you. These trees that just slowly go forward, and they're like the Goombas of the game, which are easy to defeat. And then you have what do they call these? A whole hive of bees that'll chase after you and duck down. So you gotta dodge them, and a witch will fly down and like drop stuff on you. So gotta watch out for that. It's good in the case that it actually has a continue spot because it's done in a arcade style. So if you die and it's game over, you can continue from the last a level. Unfortunately, it's still got the old standard where once it's game over and you turn off the game, it doesn't have any backup to save your spot, so you start from the beginning. But basically,
Okay.
if you're an Atari fan or a fan of like 8-bit platforms and stuff, you might enjoy it, but it's definitely not going to be for everybody.
Shigs, did you ever wind up getting a Steam Deck at any point?
Yes, I do have a Steam Deck. I for a while though, some of the stuff fell in the back of my drawer, and I wasn't using it for a while. Only recently, in the last week, did I finally get it dusted off and recharge it and start using it again.
I don't know if it's still on sale, but if you have an opportunity and you think you can afford it, go check out UFO 50. I think UFO 50 might be your jam.
I've been meaning to. I
I'm
kind
thinking
of
this.
want to get into that one.
I'm finally looking at the stream again. I'm thinking this Brentley Bears Crystal Quest thing might be my jam.
I think I don't know if you might enjoy UFO 50, but I would definitely recommend it to Shigs.
Okay. So, me. So I've been playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I am like a decent Indiana Jones fan. Like I've seen all the movies. I like 3 of them. Um, I do love like just the idea of Indiana Jones, of the swashbuckling adventure punching Nazis in the 1930s through 60s America. So like between that and the fact that I really love the Wolfenstein games from Machine Games, and that new Indiana Jones game was right up my alley, and my God, is it still like up my alley? Like it is not the kind of game I was expecting from Machine Games. I was expecting a like certainly a narrative driven game, but primarily like a first person shooter type game. Because it's like, Indiana Jones, he has a gun, he can shoot things.
Yeah, the freaking thing turns out to be an immersive sim. It's like, I hear it's an immersive sim, and it's like, wait, what? They made what out of Indiana Jones? What are we talking about here? Because they aren't, they aren't like they're doing nothing to advertise this to kind of explain what it is. They're not really advertising it particularly well at all, but it's getting really good reviews.
Yes, and it is like a very, very good Indiana Jones game. Because, like, for one, like, it's very focused on exploration. You've got, like, puzzle-solving mechanics, all the things that you would expect Indiana Jones to do.
Yeah, it really threw me off because I played this as well, but I knew you were going to talk about it. I was expecting a lot more gunplay and action, but it's definitely got more of an exploration vibe instead.
I technically found ammo for my gun, but like I still haven't used it yet. Like currently, like I'm infiltrating the Vatican.
With beat up fascists.
yeah, and I've been doing this stupid thing where I try to beat up all of Mussolini's henchmen. But you can't do that in this game, at least not very effectively, because you are playing Indiana Jones in this game, and as a result, you mostly rely on your fists, your wits, and your whip, and like it's just like a really satisfying adventure game to play. And like the way he moves, like he's got a lot of weight to him. It feels very realistic. The whole opening of the game, like, is basically a remake of the opening from the Raiders of the Lost Ark. Where like Indiana Jones is like is working with Doc Ock to get this this idol from this Incan temple. I didn't know that was the same actor, by the way, because
that is.
Like, he does not look like Doc Ock to me. Like, I had to be told that. But, like, it is just a one-for-one remake of that, down to the directing. And that carries through into the actual game. And, by the way, Troy Baker does an extremely, extremely amazing Indiana Jones impression. Like, I was not sure if this was somehow
Star Wars ones and stuff. He's done Harrison Ford roles before, and he can do them perfect.
Yeah, I probably would have just assumed it was Harrison Ford at the time, because like now I am much more conscious of Harrison Ford is a really old guy now. Like he does not sound like that anymore. And so here I am just wondering, okay, like are they like de-aging his voice something or what? But no, it's just Troy Baker doing the perfect Indiana Jones voice. And
I mean, you saw the last movie, right?
Yes, I did. Oh wait, did he do the voice for that?
When they had those young those scenes of him, CGI'd young. What the one thing that threw me off was they were using his, Harrison Ford's voice,
Okay.
and it was a young Harrison Ford with a really old, old man's Harrison Ford voice. And it
I
was
admit
very,
I was just impressed by how good the DH Indiana Jones looked, so I didn't notice that. But man, and I cannot wait to get further into this game. I need to stop trying to punch the Nazis. So far, I've been able to like clear out 2 whole streaks of them in the Vatican. Like GX said, this is an immersive sim. So like you've got this, you have this backpack full of stuff that you have to sift through, and you have like when you need to use a map, you will actually take out a map and you will like hold it, and it will like, and you will have to like look at the map and use that to figure out where you're going. It is very intuitive. Like it works better than I would think it would if you had described it to me. But like, so for combat, like, yeah, you can use your fists, you can use your whip, but you can also like pick up just any object in the environment and just hit him in the back of the head or something, which is another thing Indiana Jones would do. So like you can, so like I'm just like I can just like beat up fascists with like with wine bottles and shovels and because whatever I find, and I don't know, it's just an extremely immersive game, and I highly recommend it. Well, and to heal yourself, you need to take out a bandage and like wrap it. Do a wrapping animation. So it's there's no like instant healing or anything or drinking potions or whatever. Like yeah.
I hear he gets the crap beat out of him quite a lot in this game.
Yeah. He does. Especially in the openings, in the first like proper opening sequence, he just gets totally wrecked by this giant guy, like this 8-foot tall guy who, again, just feels so much like Indiana Jones villain, and it felt like something that would happen to him because he's, Indiana Jones. He's not the best at fighting. He's an average guy. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I look forward to getting deeper into it. I also have played more Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Just real quick on that. And I have been I've been learning how to combo, and I have also learned that. And one thing I don't think I discussed last time was that this game actually does have combat, which feels really good to pull off. Like pretty early on in the game, you will encounter a proper boss battle that you have to beat up, and you can like use your paint on people and stuff. And I don't know, it's just another thing about that game that I do love a lot more than Jet Set Radio, and I do hope that the new Jet Set Radio is taking some notes. All right. So final thing.
They aren't.
What? Well, one can hope. Or they'll come up with something better. So I've also seen a movie. Earlier, and I saw Wicked. I have always been a pretty big Wicked head. I had the soundtrack in my Ford Explorer in the late 2000s.
I was wondering, like, I was deeply afraid that I was gonna get on the podcast. Like, okay, I wasn't even gonna like it wasn't even going to be on what we've been playing, but I felt compelled to ask, as you being the person who enjoys musicals, like, are you one of those Wicked people? And
I'm not one of those Wicked people who sang in the theater, in case I need to tell you. But I am one of the. But I have always been a Wicked fan. I
am saying this as someone who, my family was very excited to see it on Broadway, and I went with them years and years back. I would say early college, and my reaction to it was like, "Oh, this is boring." Oh, this
Oh, I
is
hate you. You're a monster.
I look, they took the magical fantasy world, and I had it explained to me on another stream, like what the appeal of it is and what it's trying to say about the politics of Oz, and I guess I could, in the abstract, understand why that would be interesting, but my larger takeaway was, oh, you took the magic of this sort of whimsical land and you turned it into high school drama. Oh,
Can I
I'm sad.
can I be honest with you? I don't
Yeah.
care about The Wizard of Oz. I barely remember watching the
Oh,
movie when I was a child.
I still enjoy The Wizard of Oz. I can watch
Um,
it and enjoy it.
like I don't know. Like I'm sure I'll probably like it if I ever watch it as an adult, but I
So
just do not care.
so wait,
But
you enjoy Wicked, but you don't have any meaningful relationship to The Wizard of Oz.
yeah, like
That's
I enjoy Wicked for the music.
that's fascinating to me. But
I
go
really
on.
like that soundtrack basically lived in my car, and I had to like get the context of the songs from like Wikipedia for a while. Eventually, I saw the musical both on Broadway with my and then later I saw it again more locally in Miami Beach in Miami at the Kravick Center. And so it's like it's just I really love the music. I really love the emotion and the characters in it. I really like Elphaba and Glinda and their whole relationship. And I do appreciate the dark edge that stuff like the animals losing their voice adds to things. Like it kind of for me like it has a nice mix of like magic and a little bit of magic lore and a little bit of whimsy to kind of like get me invested in everything. But ultimately, it is the music that I am here for, and that is and so like when they announced the movie, you know, I was a little worried that they might do a Les Mis and like I don't know
Oh,
get.
I would have been much more worried that they would have done a Hobbit, considering
I
how they're
mean,
approaching it.
technically they have done The Hobbit, but they didn't do. But like it seems to be working so far. We'll see how the second half goes. But for me, like my big issue with Les Mis is that like either they got people who couldn't really like carry the same kind of notes, or couldn't sing at all. In the case of the guy who played what was it, Javier, the police officer, and like even like Wolverine, who is a very good singer. I wasn't a huge fan of his of him in that either, if I'm being honest. But Wicked, they basically nailed almost everything. Like all of the actors hit all of the right notes in this. Like the songs from Broadway and from the soundtrack and the original cast, like it is mostly brought over extremely well, or sometimes even improved in places. And although they do, this is longer than the musical. Like the actual musical on Broadway is like 10 minutes longer than the first half of than Wicked Part 1. But what they add to Wicked, I think, is kind of necessary because, like, they basically add more. They add more story to it. They kind of give you more to be invested in regards to the story world and characters. If there's one thing, if there's one issue it would kind of have about Wicked, is that it probably really did need to spend more time on stuff like that. But that doesn't tend to bother me because I think a lot of like character development and stuff can be accelerated when you're doing it through a musical. Because like when in a musical, when characters are singing, like the way the emotions and everything laid out are completely different. I think that kind of works better for a shorter runtime. But but like this movie was an extremely good adaptation, and my only real issue with it is that they break up a couple of the big numbers with basically like story bits. So it's like okay, like the characters will sing this part of the song, and then they will like have all of these developments happen. That would have like happened within seconds or with a quick transition in the actual musical, but now it's like an entire scene. And
Yeah,
so
that's
it and so
one thing with the. Sorry, I was gonna say one thing. I saw this too. The
yeah,
defying gravity bit that constantly got broken up, and I'm like,
yeah.
this how it is in the Broadway play? Because to be
It is
honest,
not, no.
I didn't hear
Define
most of this
Gravity,
before I was brand new to it.
like Define Gravity, it is just a straight up just song all the way through. Like and that is like the showstopper of the Broadway show. Like that is the one where Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, is like she decks her broom and she rises into the air, and like they expand her cloak into this massive cape that like covers a good chunk of the stage, and it's just visually really impressive for a stage show. And and like they did break that up in a way that I do feel like kind of hurt the song a bit. But ultimately, while I think it hurt the music, it helped the plot. So like it's probably it probably is overall to the benefit of it, and it is something I would recommend for anyone who's looking for a good musical and didn't already see Wicked and hate it like GX. Like I would not recommend this to you.
Oh no, I had no plan on going. Like there's 3 major movies out right now, and I have no interest in any of them. I'm out here being like, oh, I should watch all these MST3K episodes and more Dragon Ball.
You should watch that Lord of the Rings anime.
My excitement is like I love
I haven't seen that yet. I wonder if that's any good.
my favorite time of the year for movies is Christmas, and it's not because of movies that are in theaters. It's because Christmas is when Riff Trax digs out the weirdest nonsense. They have a there was a I got an album through one of their Kickstarters that was just like, hey, they have a bunch of Christmas songs associated with things they've done, and some of the stars of it sing songs on it. But one of the tracks is 40 minutes of host Mike Nelson reading through the full transcript of one of the films that they riffed called Christmas Circus with Wizzo the Clown. Christmas Circus with Wizzo the Clown is like a TV special type presentation of, you know how like in the 50s and 60s and even a little bit later than that, that you would just have, hey, after school there's a clown on TV for the kids who will present all these cartoons, like I would say like Captain Kangaroo adjacent, like what you think of as Krusty the Clown and what his place in Simpsons was.
Yeah, we had Bozo back when I was a little kid.
So I would like to just quickly just go through why I do feel like the Wicked movie does improve in terms of the plot, and that is one, Fiyero, who was the Scarecrow, and he's or becomes a Scarecrow, and he's kind of like the college heartthrob of the musical, and his role is significantly expanded, and like it does feel like you do get more of a feeling of who he is and his relationship with Elphaba, who is who he becomes romantically involved with eventually. The next one is man, I forget Bach, who becomes the Tin Man, who is oh man, I'm spoiling this for Shigs.
Alex,
sorry.
I've not seen part 2. Can you stop on that?
Well, I'm sorry. Okay, but Bach also gets
I'm sure a lot of people have only seen the film and not seen the Broadway play.
I forgot. I'm sorry, but anyway, so Bach again gets a lot more screen time, and you do get more of his relationship with man, Man, with Alphabet Sisters and Alphabet Sister, and you kind of, they really do kind of give them some time as a friend group, which I do appreciate. And finally, you do also get more of Madame Morrible, who, honestly, I barely remembered her in the musical, but here she's kind of like, but here she really kind of takes more of a role as a secondary villain. Which is good because she's played by Michelle Yeoh, and Michelle Yeoh is the one person in this movie who cannot sing worth a damn. And she gets one whole song, which makes that kind of annoying, but whatever. It was one of the big ones, at least.
Glinda and the Munchkins were actually happy that a house dropped on a cripple in the end.
I do have one Wicked story that I feel is relevant to here, just in the way that we are going back to it continuously, and it is this. About a couple weeks back, I was on a Mario Party stream, and I was able to basically turn the tide of the game during a mini game, where the other player decided, like, no, we're going to bet all the coins. And it was just going to be like, it was like Animal Crossing fishing, where you just have to reel it back in the right time. And my response to her was like, okay, I need you to, because we had talked about Wicked during the game, I need you to talk about, explain to me Wicked right now. And that proceeded to like I would say a 15-minute of her just continuously belting out like all of the themes and all of the characters and all of the plot. And I won that mini game through my tactics and proceeded then to win the game. So
you're mean.
This is the second time that I've gone through this.
Anyway, so who's ready to talk about a blue hedgehog?
I'm ready to talk about an upcoming Sonic game. Can we reasonably talk about an upcoming Sonic game?
No, we're going to talk about Wicked some more.
Anyway, no, we're going to talk about CrossWorlds, which we can't meaningfully talk about.
Well, you know what? When we don't have anything meaningful to talk about, you know what that calls for?
Dear God, I don't know what that calls for.
It calls for speculation, having a fun discussion about what it could be with the limited information that we have.
I was going to say, remember what happened with our Sonic Prime speculation, where we thought we were getting different, worlds and not just...
No, I remember you guys speculating.
I remember being pretty reasonable about Sonic Prime.
I was also very reasonable about Sonic Prime. It was everyone else who was crazy pants about it.
Yeah. Like, I certainly expressed it as like a possibility that Sonic Prime could do stuff like that, but it's like, I'm pretty sure like early on they did mention that, hey, it's all going to take place in the Shatterverse, and we had like leaked concept art of like, these different worlds, which ended up being the worlds that we got. But anyway, so yeah, at the Game Awards, they announced Sonic Racing CrossWorlds. And we don't know who's making it. It's not Sega Heartlight. At least it probably isn't, because...
So I guess let's go with the story on why we're even thinking it might be Heartlight in the first place.
Because the Game Awards posted a tweet where they tagged Sega Heartlight, but then they deleted it. So, I would just assume that it's not them.
I'm guessing that whoever was managing their Twitter, started typing Sega. That was the thing that came up, and they just hit send.
Yep.
That would be my assumption.
So,
the only thing I could speculate is it doesn't say team in the name for Sonic Racing this time, so we don't have to worry about team play, because that was kind of the killer.
So here's what we know. First, what we see in the actual trailer, which is we got we have Shadow with his little remote turning on his car remotely, and then he drives out into a realistic looking city and goes through a ring portal. Now, the website description for this says race across land, sea, and air, time and space, drift across dimensions. So
that means nothing.
only means nothing if you're not willing to speculate.
Yeah, no crap.
Which is at least what I'm going to do. You two are free to react if you're not going to.
Ooh, MFer.
So, drifting across dimensions and crossing that with the very realistic looking cityscape that we got. I don't think it's impossible to think that this might at least be crossing over with stuff from the Sonic movies.
I mean, it's
Like,
certainly.
I think you take it too high. I think what it is it's going to be like a Racing Sonic Generations, where it's different classic levels from different across from the different Sonic games.
And that's
just as simple as that. Or at the most hopeful there's some Sega mix in there, and you'd have some Sega worlds maybe.
Maybe I'm more inclined to say the former. It wouldn't surprise me if there's a lot of because you figure okay, what all have they added in terms of reinterpretations of classic levels since then? Well, since Generations, we've also got the stuff that they added from like we at least have a Death Egg level theme from Sonic Forces. And beyond that, we have everything they added for Shadow Generations. Plus, you figure hey, there could just be new themes or tracks, but the real answer is it could mean anything. It's just implying hey, we have a variety of worlds for racing tracks. It certainly could be a little bit more tied to existing sort of Sonic worlds, but also Team Sonic Racing was as well. So, what you want?
Well, here's what I'm thinking. So, the key words from that, drifting across dimensions, space, and time. I'm thinking that this could be something that mostly focuses on modern Sonic stuff, but there is some plot element that involves crossing dimensions, crossing time, crossing space that will allow them to bring in things from the movie universe, from the Prime, from the Sonic Prime Shatterverse stuff, and from the classic.
I was going to say, is this going to be your excuse to get in okay, this is how we get the chaotics, the classic chaotics, into the game series? Is we have this crossover series racing game where we have the different versions of Sonic. It's
oh no, I'm saying this is how Sega justifies cross-contaminating its various brands in a way they generally are hesitant to outside of mobile games.
Classic Sonic is in Sonic Racing. He is a character.
He is in Sonic Racing, the mobile game.
He is.
He is not in the console game.
That's
they
true.
have generally shown a little more willingness to do this with their mobile games.
In the mobile games in some way.
We discussed last time that they have these rules of which characters can be included in Sonic Speak Simulator. So there are rules in regards to which characters can be in which games. Team Sonic Racing. Now Shigs, feel free to correct me if you remember differently, but I remember we had this discussion with someone at Sega for back at E3 2018 about are we going to get classic characters in this? And they said, oh no. Classic characters are their own sub-brand. It cannot, and Team Sonic Racing is modern, so they cannot be in that.
With the irony being that was also a time and space traveling game.
Was there time travel in Team Sonic Racing?
Silver was in it. He brought Silver back to the past, and he brought Blaze in from the other dimension in order to participate in his weird race thing.
I mean, yeah, but Silver and Blaze are exceptions to this stuff.
Doesn't Dodonpa also come from the future or something?
I think he's just a space alien.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Dodonpa doesn't follow the laws of time and space.
Anyway, but we're talking about Sega here. Sega's rules.
Sure.
And so, like, what I'm thinking is that this has a plot that justifies crossing over these different parts of the Sonic brand that they are acknowledging. So, like, no Sonic Boom, obviously. You know, nothing older than Sonic Prime or the movie. Nothing older than the movies.
I honestly
like,
don't think that we would get that much from Sonic Prime, if I'm being honest. I don't know. I think Sonic Prime is over. So
I think it's I think that at the very least, like, this was probably something that would have entered development while Sonic Prime was still going, for one. And like, Sonic Prime it would be a relatively easy thing to pull like levels and characters from. And so on top of that, of course, you know, the CrossWorld logo does kind of have some of that Prime like rainbow sheen, but I don't know. I would hesitate to read too much into that. But like, I guess like having Dread Knuckles and Knuckles the Dread and Nine, like, they wouldn't be the most difficult cast members to add, especially since you can just like
especially since that's what the mobile games do all the time.
Yeah. So like, and
put
then
a hat on him. It's a new character.
And then it's like, when it comes to the movies, like, they've already finally cracked the glass on that with the
the problem is they don't give a crap about the mobile games as far as throwing in extra characters and stuff.
Well, the mobile games
they do more when it's a major console release.
Mobile games operate on different rules.
Okay. No, this needs to be a discussion because let's be clear. It's not. I don't feel like there's the division that you guys do on like what is okay for mobile games. Like, no, mobile games just operate on a different style of economy where they need this flow of content in a way that would be much more challenging for a console game. Like, just look at the way that a lot of games as service games are dropping left and right because the pipeline to keep people engaged with them is really, really challenging unless you have a lot of people playing your game and working on your game. I just look at this and think like we should keep our expectations in check. Like, there's certainly the wacky crazy interpretation where you could think that they'll put everything in this thing, but there's the other half where, like, okay, what can they reasonably do, or what do you think Sega as a company is reasonably interested in?
I think we are being I am being pretty reasonable here, because it's not like I am saying, oh, they got to pull across the entire Sonic multiverse. It's like, no, like, they can pull from what's currently fairly relevant to their brand.
Along the lines of, like, this is going to be
Tangle and Whisper or anything like that.
Honestly, I'm just expecting Team Sonic Race. I'm expecting Team Sonic Racing 2 without the team part, and maybe they will include stuff that didn't necessarily make the transition with Racing Transformed to Team Sonic Racing. Like, we had a Sonic Colors, Starlight Carnival stage in Transformed that did not make it to Team Sonic Racing because it was kind of reliant on the transformation ability. Like, if I want to be ambitious, I'm going to say, well, it would be very cool if they did the transformation again. That was really, really fun.
And they could, although as you said, the land speed and everything could be them driving like over clouds and I guess driving underwater. I don't know how that would work.
If I am letting myself get super ambitious with what I want this to be, it would be an All-Stars Racing Transformed 2. It's just that until they actually show something, I'm not going to wildly speculate in the way that you are. I'm going to go by...
I know, I'm aware. That's why I was very clear that I'm going to speculate.
I'm not speculating much either.
So, like, yeah, I'm thinking that is what I'm thinking. Prime, movie, and classic. But both in terms of forces and in terms of characters.
If like for me, look, I really liked Team Sonic Racing. I get that, yes, the meta layer to it is not great, but what Sumo Digital does such an amazing job with vehicle feel in these games. Even in that game, the tracks are great. They look amazing. The feel of the cars is fantastic. They are the only company that I can point to, the only developer that has been able to do kart racing feel in a way that I think even compares to what Nintendo does with Mario Kart. I think they have such a fantastic and in the way that they handle drift, I think there's times when they handle it even better than Mario Kart. Like,
I mean, I do.
legitimately.
I mean, I just simply think that All Stars Racing Transformed is better than any Mario Kart that Nintendo has made. I'm fairly certain I've said that on here before.
I don't feel it's better than 8, but
Team Sonic Racing, my guess whole issue with it is that the whole thing just feels kind of bland. But like, you know, it's a perfectly competent, fun racer that controls well and has very nice visuals. But it doesn't have that kind of unique hook that could put it above Mario Kart 8 in the way Transformed did.
Sure. But more to my point, if this game isn't made by Sumo Digital, that's going to be really deflating for me. Like, it would surprise me if Hardlight was doing this, because this is a bigger scale project than they've ever would have taken on, which is why I don't think it actually is Hardlight. But it's also hard for me to point to like a team in Sega that would be like, well, this is the company that I would go to for racing, unless it was RGG, and RGG is working on 20 projects at once, most of which are brand new Yakuza games.
As I understand it, Shadow Generations had some people from RGG on it.
I'm almost certain that it has some assets from RGG in it. So,
but like I know that Sega itself, at least at one time, was extremely good at making arcade racers. I have no idea if those people are still there.
I mean, they're in. Well, what? They're like, it's AM2, and I think AM2 is mostly working on Hatsune Miku and other rhythm arcade games these days, aren't they?
I honestly wouldn't know. I have not been keeping up with Sega's arcade output because I so rarely see it anymore. But like I'm at least quite open to the idea of Sega making this internally, so long as it's not like Sonic Team, which, you know, like I'm open to Sonic Team making like platformers, but like if it's not like Sumo Digital working on this, I'm hoping it's whoever made Outrun 2 or I don't know, some other internal Sega racing dev team.
Yeah, AM2, I'm looking at what they got, and it was, they did a Hatsune Miku, they did basically Project Diva Megamix for Switch, and then they did it for Windows, and then they did 2 ports of Virtua Fighter 5. So that's what they're up to. They still exist, but not quite the force that they once were.
Yeah.
Well, in 2017, they did Sega Network Tizen Mahjong MJ Arcade for the Sega New system.
They also did Border Break, which I remember at least seeming interesting, although I don't think it ever got localized. But anyway, so like let's say, like, you know, the CrossWorld things doesn't have anything to do with the roster and tracks and
external properties.
Yeah. My other idea, my initial idea, was that, you know, it could be pointing towards a gameplay gimmick. And, like, maybe a gameplay gimmick that involves you going between worlds during the course of a race.
Like, a good comparison would probably be the most recent Ratchet and Clank game, and the ways that they kind of use that to show off, like, look how we can change the worlds!
And like that is extremely impressive. And Sumo Digital actually did something a little like that the Nikes into Dreams course, where like you could go through a portal and would like take you through a little boss area from the original game.
That and like what's it called? Samba de Amigo had like crazy versions of that, where you would go into this magical abstract world where the giant Samba de Amigo characters would dance at you on Rainbow Road.
So it's stuff that is so it's an idea that could be technologically possible even on something like a Switch. And like certainly I am hoping that this game has a unique gameplay gimmick that helps separate it from your typical kart racer, because like that is what these games do need, in my opinion, in order to stand out from Mario Kart. So I don't know, like a transformed world mechanic. That sounds cool to me.
The only other possibility I could think is something like in the recent Ratchet and Clank, where you actually go through a portal into another track from another.
I don't think Jason
area.
was listening to our conversation.
Yeah, like that ring portal. That was in the teaser trailer, which I'm thinking, that might be a game that might point to that gameplay gimmick. But Shigs, were you not paying attention or when we talked about Ratchet and Clank? Shigs?
I was partially. I was also partially playing Fortnite. I'm sorry.
Oh gosh darn it, Shigs!
I'm not surprised. I'm not actually. I don't know if that's especially damning that I'm not surprised, but I'm not surprised.
All right, moving on. All right, so
I was listening for like the first 10 minutes, and it was drifting off a little.
Listening to me and him argue about what is and isn't reasonable. Oh, those two at it again.
So moving on. Sega West CEO Shuji Utsumi has been doing a bit of press lately, and he frustratingly made a bit of news that I had to cover last night across 3 separate articles, because he said
some weird stuff in these.
Yes. And so some background on Utsumi. He helped launch the Dreamcast. He was with Sega in the late 90s through 2000. He executive produced Space Channel 5. He apparently like helped get a dozen Dreamcast games off the ground, including Jet Set Radio. And he co-founded Q Entertainment with Tetsuya Mizuguchi, who was the director of Rez. So, this guy, he does come from an interesting time in Sega's past. And he also apparently worked on Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, good.
Between all that as well.
Yeah, when you said interesting times, you weren't kidding. He had Q. He did Rez. He launched the Dreamcast. Oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts. What? What is this man's career?
Kingdom Hearts is like the bottom of the list.
And then the man says, "Yeah, I don't know. Sega doesn't really do nostalgia stuff."
So there's an important bit of context to this.
I know there is, but go ahead.
So, like, the central, thesis of his interview is, hey, when I came in, Sega was, I felt like Sega had lost its way. They were too concerned with Japan. They were too concerned with controlling costs. And I want them to, I want them to, bring, I want them to, be rock and roll again in the game industry. This is something he has said multiple times across 3 different interviews, including the 2 that we're citing, where he sees Sega as rock and roll. That's what he wants the tone of the company to be.
Much like rock and roll, it gets in a lot of fights with other band members.
And so among those things is they're bringing back a lot of classic IPs, as we know, Virtual Fighter 6, Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio, etc. But the main focus of these new IPs, apparently, he wants of the teams behind these IPs is he doesn't just want to revisit the past. He wants them to innovate with these new games. I guess another thesis for this interview could be, yes, we appreciate our legacy, we like our legacy, but we are not a retro company. We do not want to live in the past. Which is how we get to, I'm just going to jump to this one, which is how we get to this, what he says about mini consoles, which is he doesn't want to do mini consoles, which makes me sad, but,
Realistically, I don't think there's a lot of ways that you could do mini consoles these days.
Yeah, that is something I have been wondering, because it does for one, like, doing a mini console for a Sega Saturn and a Dreamcast was always going to be on the more difficult and expensive side. And on top of that, the whole mini console industry is just kind of died.
Yeah.
And so while Sega expressed interest in doing it like 4 years ago, the time for that has unfortunately probably passed.
It was a novelty for a hot second, and it was an interesting novelty at that, but like the spaces where this is still, I don't know if I would say thriving, but it at least exists, is sort of the hobbyist space where you will get things like the Evercade, you will get things like on the more commercial side, Arcade 1-Up, but also on the way hobbyist side, it's more like, well, what can we do with Mr. Boards? What could we do with FPGA technology?
And and of course that's a space I kind of live in casually, but I'm a big retro gamer. And so, I had always been hoping that we would get a Sega Saturn and Dreamcast Mini, because...
Well, we don't want them. We don't want classic games. We gotta kill them on every platform. Kill all the classic games.
But, I admit, the thing he says about, wanting Sega to appeal to modern gamers, it does make me wonder if that is what was behind the great delisting.
It's hard to say because
from
Sony,
a week ago.
The problem is, I'm trying to think. Was it? No, it was. Who was the Sony CEO that would continuously put his foot in his mouth? Was that? Was that Ken? Was that Ken Levine? Am I thinking of the right person?
That sounds right.
I don't know. The one that said well, look at all these classic games. Why would anyone want to play these?
Yeah. He was the guy who recently retired, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't think it was Mark Cerny.
No, it was definitely not Mark Cerny.
No, it was not Mark Cerny. It was I don't remember. Evan something?
Well,
I don't know.
Now I'm just Googling it. Jim Ryan.
Jim Ryan. That's Mr. Hey Sony, we need to have 1 million games as service. Oh no, all the games as service are doing bad. Cancel them all.
Oh god.
You can't have 1 million games of service going at once with trying to occupy everybody's time.
It's a bottomless well of players. It will never end. No, but yeah, that's my worry, is this. On one hand, this feels almost like well, why do people like these old games attitude? But on the other hand, he's CEO of Sega America and Europe. Who cares? He isn't driving the ship.
Well, yeah, I don't know. The interviews may have given the wrong impression of how much control he has over things, but it sounds like he is pretty high up there in terms of decision makers.
It'd be like asking Doug Bowser, hey, what do you see as our virtual Nintendo Online Classic game strategy going forward? I don't know. Japan's just gonna tell me what to put up. I don't know what his opinion really means in this circumstance, except for well, we didn't release the Sega Genesis Mini 2 with the CD add-on, but for some reason, you can import an America one from Japan for an outrageous shipping cost.
I should see if those are available on eBay.
I bet they are, and I bet they're the same price. No, I bet they're still available on Amazon for the same price, I bet.
So, Shigs, are you sad about potentially no mini consoles?
I don't need a mini console for my Saturn. I got a Saru. And the awesome little device there.
I don't know. For me, sorry. Go on.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No, go on. You talk.
I was gonna say it's one thing to play Sonic R or Burning Rangers and have to wait 20 to 30 seconds for the game to load up, and now instead I just have to wait like 1 to 2 seconds.
To me, it's like
And
this would be like a fun way to just bring these games back into circulation. But I will admit that the logistics of them always did feel kind of weird for me. So, Now, while he isn't too interested in doing mini consoles, he did express some interest in a subscription service, which I'm going to be the only one who has any interest in this on here, I think. Regarding a Sega subscription service, let me just start by saying it depends on what their goal is and how it is executed. If it's like low investment, niche goal, cheap, they're not trying to be the next Game Pass, I think they can do it. But if they're trying to be the next Game Pass, or if they try to do cloud gaming or something, then it's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, hey, to me, this statement felt more like, hey, we want to attract investors and get investors interested rather than them actually having something practical that they could do. Because, like, if
He
this
was
is
very vague about it.
if this is legitimate, then what we're actually dealing with is Sega being so late to the subscription party, and I am borrowing from myself in another context, is everyone has already left the party, or except for like 5 big players. And meanwhile, as everyone's winding down, Sega's just opening their first beer. It's like,
see,
what?
I think an advantage of that is that now we have seen the limits of these services. We have seen that these are not like the big money makers that a lot of companies thought they would be. And so, if you're smart, you can plan accordingly and make a small niche service. But it is way too late to try to do another Game Pass. But personally, something that I've always wanted from Sega has just been a service that focuses on bringing their legacy content to modern platforms. And hey, a side benefit of that is if your service fails, you've emulated these games for modern platforms, you can just sell them. So you can recoup some of your investment.
Do you trust them to do that in any meaningful way?
I don't know.
Because let's remember
that's something I would think about once the games are out.
What? Wait, hold on. Will this service exist? I don't know. We'll see when it exists.
I don't know. Haven't there been arcade ports for or emulations or whatever for Yakuza and that Astrocade thing? Haven't those been good?
I guess to an extent, but also, hey, hasn't there continuously been a long string of complaints about the Genesis collection that you released? It kind of sucks. Like, it has bad response time, and this launcher for it is profoundly overbearing and a resource hog.
I'm gonna be honest. I played some of that. I thought it was fine.
I don't know. I'm going by response. I've never bothered to get it. Except
the thing about stuff like that is that only the super hardcore people tend to notice. Although those are the people who want this service. So
that's the thing. You're talking about the only audience that would actually be interested in a Sega subscription model. So okay, so I have put time and thought into how this could make sense, and I do have a pitch for you.
So have I, but you go.
What does EA do for their subscription model? Are you aware?
I know that they teamed up with Game Pass.
They sure did. So, I think there is a realm for Sega to basically create not a service that they maybe inherently... I don't want to say manage, but like operate on their own, or maybe they do operate on their own in a smaller capacity, but it feels like something that they could really make as an add-on or something that they could pitch to existing services as sort of just like, hey, do you want a suite of games that you can just shove on here and have it be raw content?
No,
PlayStation and Xbox and I don't know, Luna.
Netflix.
Maybe
Netflix.
Netflix, yeah, actually, legitimately, you probably could. Although Netflix would tend to like to have things that are exclusive, so I
Like
don't know about that.
they did recently, I think, kill their games section, right?
Games are, I think the games are still going. I think they just removed a lot of their I think they just killed a lot of their like interactive experience games, but I still think they offer games as a concept. But yeah, I could see them selling it in the same way that like, hey, we could license these games to Nintendo for their expanded online service, or
Yeah.
hey, what if Game Pass had this big library of classic Sega games that Microsoft could pay us for, or the same thing with PlayStation, or and we could maybe also like sweeten it with just say, hey, maybe we could sell it to some people directly and offer it that way. It's just a
Yeah,
pitch
like
that like these are the things that I would see as more feasible than Sega attempting to manage their own subscription service.
yeah, like that would make sense. I had considered I had considered that, hey, maybe whatever work they do on this service, they could also like use that work to get on the Nintendo Switch and the Nintendo Online. But yeah, like they could potentially just team up with Game Pass or PlayStation or both, um,
I
for those games.
my
But like,
my problem is just like I'm thinking about what they would think is value, and my problem is like, what do you are you gonna pay $8 a month for access to? Well, we've got all three Golden Axe games.
I mean, it depends. Because if it's just a library of Genesis games, obviously it wouldn't be worth it. Like they would have to expand into other parts of their library,
And
Dreamcast,
do you
third.
believe they would?
Exactly.
Like I don't know, for like they've never done a subscription service like this before, but like
They have.
it's the only.
They have.
Well, okay, in recent in the
Okay.
recent times,
In recent
I
times,
know
no,
that
they have not.
I know that like there was Sega Channel and also that Japanese only PC service that had Knuckles Chaotix on it.
Actually, not even only Japanese, but yeah, I get what you mean. They also participated a lot in Game Tap, if I remember correctly.
Game Tap, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but they also participated in Game Pass. I don't think that counts. But like but the only way a service like this makes sense is if they bring in Dreamcast, if they bring in their third party 6th gen, and heck, maybe 7th gen, although that would be more difficult, and Saturn arcade and stuff like that. Like, they would have like the service only makes sense if they were to expand into the more obscure parts of their library. And if they don't, then it's probably just going to be a thing everyone ignores, like Sega forever.
Yeah, more or less. So it just, I guess the nervousness I have around it is like, well, they have something to prove because they took down all of those games, and that really sucks. And boy, I would like to know what they're planning to make up for that. Why would you bother to take down all those games? Please explain.
So, like, and a subscription service was one of my hopeful remedies, because for years I've been wanting them to have a venue where they can like put their old arcade games, put their Saturn and Dreamcast and third party games, and do re-release something other than Sega Genesis for the 8th time, and this feels like one of those avenues, but we'll just have to see. So, Shigs, you have anything to say on that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope they aren't planning just to do that kind of thing where for subscription service where it'd be just for like Genesis or Master System or any of the other games, because people are wise nowadays. There's so many people with emulators nowadays, so those kind of games are almost worthless to a subscription model where putting them in collections is more favorable.
Yeah, yeah. Like when it comes to those kinds of games, collections do just make a hell of a lot more sense. That's why how they've been doing that for years. But so like yeah. Like I guess maybe if it's like $3, then doing those games might make some sense. But at that point, what's the point in that? I wouldn't care about that. So to touch on this very briefly, he did also talk a little bit about Sonic, mostly in empty platitudes. But I don't know. I always like reading into this stuff a little bit. He says that Sega needs to make the next Sonic game a great game.
That's a great thing he's on Sonic Team then.
He basically, he basically just kept reiterating, "Hey, the next Sonic game needs to be big, needs to be innovative. It's probably going to take a long time."
We will remind you once again. He is CEO of Sega Europe and is not part of Sonic Team and is not a leader in a leadership position in Sega's Japanese buildings. He is of Sega of America and Europe, and the only Sonic game that Sega of America has ever produced is The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Although Sonic Pillar is based in the U.S.
Sure, yeah.
And also, apparently there have been discussions about bringing back the Chow Garden. Which I think that's the first time they've said that there have been actual discussions. So, who knows? Maybe we'll all be raising Chow before too long. It really does kind of feel like that's something that just has to come back because of how much they have been acknowledging it lately. It's like something that people want. I feel like they used to just kind of ignore that stuff. But anyway, so moving on to another big piece of news. Johnny Gioeli is suing Sega to settle the ownership of the Sonic Adventure 2 classic track Live and Learn, which which he recently licensed to be in the Sonic 3 movie in some capacity. Hey, GX, you wrote this up. Why don't you start us off?
This is, it's a weird one. In fact, there's further discussion and reaction to it in Discord right now. And boy, given the reaction to it on the forums, people have strong feelings about this. I think they have stronger feelings than it's probably worth worrying about. Okay, so basically what has happened is Polygon reported that, hey, Johnny Gioeli is putting forward a suit against Sega of America in regard to the ownership of Live and Learn. In this case specifically, the composition and the master audio recording. What he is alleging is his original agreement with Sega, who, Sega of America has gone through a couple different, mergers, restructures, whatever you want to call it, but effectively it still would fall under of Sega of America today, was effectively, hey, my original agreement here with you guys was I was to write the lyrics for this. But then as I was working with Jun Senao, it effectively changed. Like I was being pulled in to do more involved work. I was doing some arrangement. I was doing some mixing. I was doing I was giving him feedback on, well, no, we're going to put this here. We're going to rearrange this here. And then ultimately produce the master recording track in his studio in California. And thus, because it was outside of the scope of the agreement he had with Sega, that he would effectively be the owner of that master track, as well as, owner or at least co-collaborator of the composition itself, because he would have like contributed or given feedback or directed part of that or all of the above. And to be clear, this is just Live and Learn. This is not the entire like Crush 40 discography. If Sega still wants to use like What I'm Made Of, my understanding is like the ownership of that is much more clear cut.
Yeah,
There's not a lot.
and I do find it pretty hilarious that this is like the one Sonic track that gets licensed for a movie.
Well,
it's the one Sega apparently doesn't know.
I mean, the problem was, and if I had to guess why this particular game is so why that particular song is so impacted by it, like this would have been the era where Sega was in massive trouble. So
yeah,
much in the same way that it's kind of easy to understand how they lost the sort of the rights documentation or payment documentation for the Sonic OVA. Like this would have been the same era where it's like, well, maybe their lawyers weren't entirely on top of things because everything was on fire because the Dreamcast was on fire.
Yeah.
So it's kind of understandable why maybe this was a little bit hazy in that way. But
my assumption is that Sega thought they had the rights. Otherwise, none of the because generally companies try to avoid these kinds of mistakes because it can be very expensive.
So the thing that's complicating matters is he is alleging that Sega lawyers had told him two different things in recent years. One of those things was during the sort of setup for the 30th anniversary symphony, where my understanding of what is being alleged is basically, well, they told me that, hey, there's an understanding that we do not own the rights for this song, and that's how this agreement is going forward. But then in 2024, about April, he cites a correspondence where Sega is now claiming, like, well, it's 50-50 ownership. We own 50, you own 50. So if we were to pay you for this back stuff, it would only be half. So effectively, he's going to court saying basically, hey, this is my understanding. I need a court to figure out who owns this thing. Is it owned by me? Is it owned by Sega? Or is it 50-50? And if it's any of those, then we need to go back to the receipts, figure out what Sega made, because Sega would owe, if it ruled in his favor in full or partially, then Sega would owe him money for it being used in as many Sega games as it is, and it's used in a lot of Sega games.
Over 25, as I recall.
Well,
and he's suing them for $1 million.
Yeah, okay, yeah. It's they're saying no less than $500,000 for the breach of contract, plus on top of that, coverage for the attorney fees and the court costs and everything for that. But
was it also $500,000 in lost royalties?
That's what I'm saying.
Lost royalties.
Well, that's for the breach of contract. Yeah. The two $500,000s add up to $1 million, but he's also been like, okay, this is what we need to actually figure out for this. Is like, okay, what have I lost? What is it going to cost for the court battle for this? Let's figure this out, and that's what I'm going for. But effectively, like the thing that has to be emphasized here is obviously Sega would use the song in their own games. You can think of a lot of Sonic games that was in. It's also in at least 2 Yakuza games. It's in
Which surprises me.
It's in some of their arcade music games, which is probably a little bit less surprising, but it's in there. But then we also have to remember, it's in at least 4 Smash Brothers games.
Okay.
And it was also in a Monster Hunter game because of the DLC agreements with that. And do you remember when I streamed the what's it called? The Fist of the North Star mobile game.
Yes, I remember.
Guess what plays when Sonic transforms?
Live and learn.
Yep.
Remember that.
They continuously use this, and, like, realistically, if there's any merit to this argument, like, yeah, Sega probably does owe him for a lot of uses for that song. Because that is a very strong go-to for them. It is a very iconic song throughout the series. So, heck, it was in Sonic X. It was in the Japanese version of Sonic X, too, so...
Like, I can only assume that Sega thought they had the ownership at that point.
It would,
because like,
it wouldn't surprise me, and that's kind of like what this whole thing is about. Is like, hey, if I win, these are the judgments that I'm looking for. Is like, make clear who owns it. If it's me, it's me. If it's not, it is me. Sega can't go around presenting themselves as like, yeah, you can license this thing through us. Then also compensation. Then, of course, like, hey, if they want to use it in something, then he has a seat at the negotiating table to figure out, like, okay, how is this going to be used? And, of course, if he wants to use it himself for stuff, he can use it himself for stuff.
I am hoping that this doesn't ruin their relationship, or whatever kind of relationship exists at this point.
That's kind of like people are, like, the big bold reaction that people seem to be having is like, oh no, this is gonna ruin the relationship between Johnny and Sega. And my response to that is like, what relationship does Johnny and Sega still have?
So, like, as I recall, he had stuff in two games over the last few years, but he's mostly been involved in Sonic Symphony.
Yeah, so yeah, that's basically. He hasn't had a major role in Sonic music since Sonic and the Black Knight in 2009.
Well, he did do the main theme for Team Sonic Racing.
So yes, since then, this is his entire contribution. He has done the lyrics for Free from Sonic Free Riders. He did not do the vocals, he did the lyrics. And he has done the vocals and lyrics for, like you said, Green Light Ride, which, yeah, that's not nothing, but that's
I was at a concert he did for that game.
Yeah, that's a massive gap between projects that he's been involved with Sega. Like they've reused it and stuff. Like, I don't know how much, like, people are saying, like, well, he might not do Sonic games again. It's like, there's no guarantee that he was going to do Sonic games again, because he hasn't really been reliably doing Sonic games in a long time. He has done more fan projects over the last decade than he has done official Sega Sonic music. I think it is important to note that in the interim, he was doing, like,
concerts for Sega. You know, he did stuff at Sonic Boom events.
He does do that, but what I'm saying,
and the tour for that,
and who knows? Maybe that might impact that relationship. I'm kind of inclined to say it's probably not going to impact it as much as a lot of other people say, because to me,
I'm hoping it doesn't do anything, because like it's good for both parties if they just sort this out.
even if Sega's upset, like, I have to imagine, like, he still has a pretty good relationship with Jun. Like, they always seem incredibly chummy whenever I see them together in, like, images and videos. And I would imagine if anyone's going to be a defender in this circumstance, it would be him. But, like, if Sega effed up, like, that's kind of on Sega. But even if they might not see it that way. But
yeah.
It's just a matter of, like, yeah, he's there and he's around for the nostalgia stuff, but I wouldn't say that, like, he's there helping make a whole lot of new Sonic music these days.
Now, I do find it a little weird that apparently I read that Polygon interview that broke this. He wasn't even aware that Sonic Adventure 2 got ports, which I find hard to believe. Like,
well,
apparently he learned from a fan that it was in all these games and the game and stuff.
It on one hand, like, yeah, it seems really weird. Like, it seems really weird that he might not necessarily be aware. And there's obviously two ways to take that. Way number one is, well, he wasn't really concerned about it that much until he kind of understood that, like, oh, with the movie coming out, this thing actually does have value. But
that is what I'm wondering about.
But which, I mean, you can complain about, well, that seems disingenuous or not, but at the same time, like, that's just what companies do. Whenever something has value, it's something that you have to actually protect. When it doesn't seem like it has meaningful value, it's like, oh, what do I care? But on the other hand, like, the dude's a real-ass musician. Crush 40 ain't even his day job. Like, that's... if you told me that the man hasn't played a video game since 2002 because, you know, he's actually out doing things, I would find that believable.
Well, my main thing is that, like, for one, like, he has been like communicating with fans and going to Sega events and fan events for like decades, and I would think he'd have been exposed to all this stuff.
Yeah, it'd be hard for him not to have that kind of knowledge because they'd be telling him that. So,
but ultimately, legally, it doesn't matter. But that is just something that I found a little weird.
I don't know. I flipped through his Instagram looking for good pictures that I could use in the article, and my takeaway is like, oh yeah, Sonic ain't even his day job. Like, he loves his fans, and he's cool to his fans, and he will do things for his fans. But, like, this ain't even top of mind, because he's in, like, two other bands, plus he has solo projects.
I think I've seen him in concert, like, 3 or 4 times.
The man has, like, 60 albums under his belt. Like, he ain't got time to be playing Sonic games. I don't know.
Yeah, like, I'm sure he hasn't been playing games. I'm just saying, I would think that other things would expose him to this stuff.
Like I said, it's a little bit weird, and I can understand if it's just, you know, we kind of have to say that to make sure that there is a reasonable legal case that we can bring. But also, I find it maybe not totally unbelievable. It's like, no, he's real into that thing that he did, like, 20 plus years ago, and didn't realize, like, oh, people are still doing this? Oh, okay, cool. Wait, shouldn't I be paid for this? So, because he might have been, who knows? Maybe he was aware of, like, it being used once or twice, like, oh, well, maybe once or twice. And then when you actually start counting up, it's like, oh, they keep using it. That's a problem. I should actually be paid.
Yeah, I could see that being something that he found out more recently. Because, like, we didn't know it was in a lot of those games.
Oh, I wasn't about to tell you, it's like, Yakuza 4. I was like, wait, he live and learns in where is live and learn why is live and learn in Yakuza 4?
Like this has nothing on when Ken Penders pretended that he didn't tell the public that Sega owns all of his stuff, which is a thing that he did do. Back in like 2000, 2001, and he gets conveniently forgot. This is nothing like that.
If you want to tell me that the man whose job it is to put together music tracks and then yell into a microphone didn't know that Sonic Generations used Live and Learn, I would find that believable.
I just hope that things work out for all parties involved.
Then what we discover is that this is what destroys the Sega Paramount relationship, because it's like, oh god, you taught him that his work has value. Oh my god, Paramount, what did you do?
Oh, Paramount goes the way of Archie.
Like Sonic music has always had weird relationships. We went through the whole Sonic Origins thing. Like,
they don't even own the theme to Green Hill, which surprises the hell out of me.
Yeah, they don't. They have to license that every time they go back and do something, and not every game where they evoke Green Hill has that music in it. There was, like, I know after the fact, Bentley Jones says that, like, no, there was no bad blood, but there was a time when the understanding was there was some pretty bad blood when they used his song on one of the compilation tracks that he was not
Huh.
happy about. I
Don't think I heard about that.
That's my memory of it. Like I said, these days he says like, no, there was never any bad blood. I'd like to make some Sonic music, but I don't know how much of that was being like polite about it or wanting to continue to work on Sonic projects or whatever, but I remember back in the day that the understanding was like, no, that he was pretty PO'd that they used this track on a compilation album without consulting him in any way, but I don't know. Of course, we have Brad Buxer and Michael Jackson.
The only Sega music drama that I'm aware of is how the guy who composed for Sonic R hates when people
I was gonna say Hunted P. That whole drama.
No, I'm not aware of that one. I'm aware of Brian Jacques hating it when other people remix his music.
Ironically, he remixes music all the goddamn time for everything.
And he complained about it on Twitter, and it got attention. And apparently, does it all the time in private, but he had to delete that.
No, Hunted P, the artist who rapped the Sonic Adventure 2 Knuckles stages.
Knuckles, right, I heard about that.
Yeah, he claims at some point to have never been paid by Sega, and then that was brought into question if he was being honest about that, and also it kind of turned out that he was a real POS for other reasons.
Yeah.
And that... They can't escape all this music drama. It just keeps happening, but I guess that's what you get when you want to be rock and roll.
Yeah. So, moving on, unless Shigs has anything to add.
No, I got
moving on. Moving on to Funko
I have
Pop,
one thing to add.
I know we all love.
I have one thing to add. How you doing in Fortnite?
Yes.
Are you winning, son?
You're not still playing Fortnite, are you?
Yes, there's too many damn modes in that Fortnite now. Now they got Ballistic, which is basically a Call of Duty multiplayer, first-person shooter mode in Fortnite. 5-on-5.
Shigs, you are a grown man. You need to ditch Fortnite and start playing the Funko Pop game.
Oh no! Don't! I wouldn't wish that on anyone, you jerk. They took. Oh, did you hear what happened with Funko and Itch.io or Itch.io?
Oh yeah, they go after the owner of Itch.io for some reason.
No, so Funko subscribes to this service that basically operates. They basically scan the web thin, like, okay, is there any sort of IP theft going on around here? And they found someone's page on itch.io. It wasn't really meaningfully IP theft. They were kind of just, I don't know if it was like guide content that they were doing or being like, hey, go check out the trailer for this thing. This thing looks cool. And the AI basically wrote up a delisting letter to go tell their host, being like, hey, you got to take this offline. And so their host was like, oh, well, I guess we're taking this offline, without really bothering to question anybody. And then itch.io went offline for I think it might have been like between 6 and 12 hours.
I think they also sent a threatening message to his mother.
That was something on Twitter. I didn't quite get the understanding of like what that was. There was a phone call or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how to address the leadership of itch.io. I'm assuming it's more than just a guy, but I wouldn't know who. I've never bothered to look it up.
Oh, okay, so Funko allegedly called Lefo's mother about the bad publicity after taking down itch.io.
Cool.
As
we know, we need to preserve the sanctity of Funko from the slander weighed at them by these tiny indie developers.
But anyway, so to talk about the latest products from Funko Pop, the company that apparently called someone's mother,
Knuckles, I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm really mad. I am really, really mad right now because I kind of actually want one of these.
I'm curious of which one. It's probably Big the Cat.
No,
So
it isn't.
okay, so we have Treasure Hunter Knuckles, Omega, Rouge, Big the Cat, and Flocked Supersonic.
I
And man, go on.
in my mind, the only good Funko Pops are ones that actually look like the thing that they're supposed to look like.
And it's Omega.
And it's Omega. And Omega one
Yeah,
actually looks pretty good.
Same thing.
I always get a little annoyed when Funko Pop does merchandise for a character that doesn't get merchandise because, god damn it, I kind of want it.
John Gray's Blue Sky post, he showed what the I guess they're doing a Chow Funko Pop plush, and the eyes look just soulless. It just looks terrible.
Big the Cat looks like he licked Froggy, and Froggy looks like he licked himself. Like they got some really big pupils.
I own 2 of them, and it's for the same reason that you said. It's like, oh, they make everything so eventually they will hit you where it hurts in some point. And it's because I have Brack and Zorak, because where else am I going to get Brack and Zorak?
And there's also that one I sent you as a joke gift a few some years ago.
It's probably in a bin somewhere of what is it? It was it wasn't even, I don't think it was even boxed. I think you just sent me a loose Funko of someone from one of the Sony shooters.
I just know it was the most generic looking character and it was super cheap, and so I got it for you because you hated Funko Pop.
I sure do. I think I probably still own it, and it's probably in a bin somewhere.
But yeah, that Omega one and the big one are both super tempting to me. Albeit for different reasons. The big one's kind of funny.
I am shocked. I am shocked that the supersonic one has a mouth. That almost feels blasphemous for how those figurines are designed. That it's like, wait, you actually gave something a mouth, but that's something that a designer would do. Why would you do that?
Yeah, but the math just looks really weird. I'm sorry. I just got a close-up look at that figure. It looks weird.
Oh, I'm always upset whenever we get some, like we have people in the Discord that are very excited for Funko Pops, and I try not to be too much of a bummer, but I am definitely the biggest bummer in there. And the one
Of course you are.
the one thing that I cannot deal with, the one thing that really gets under my skin is anything that is flocked. It doesn't even have to be Funko. Any type of figure that is flocked is a miserable, hateful product.
Why? I always thought it looked like it'd be nice to touch.
Well, okay, here's a handful of issues that you will run into owning a flocked product. Issue number 1 is that they are going to be a dust magnet. How the hell are you going to dust something that's fuzzy?
I don't know. Water?
Oh God, that sounds worse. Oh my God, you made everything worse. The second thing that I hate about flocked is that almost always when you get something flocked, the adhesive that they tend to use for it, I think it's usually like a PVC adhesive, that degrades over time. And then you have... It degrades in the way that, like, if you've ever had, like, a rubber grip controller, how that will eventually degrade and then turn sticky and disgusting and get everything on it.
Oh, so this is like that rubber.
Like that one 2-pack I have, which have not come out of the box and are not going to come out of the box.
And this also sounds like that rubber casing that they used to use in the 2000s that like slowly just comes undone and gets all sticky as it gets older.
I experienced this with one of my Nendoroids. I have the Kirby Robobot Nendoroid, and after a couple of years, the soft coating that they decided to put on him to make him feel like not fully fuzzy, but just have that soft feeling, that started to turn and degrade and turn into an awful sticky mess, and I spent hours just alcohol rubbing all over the surface trying to get all of that off. Now he's like glossy, and I think he has a crack in the side from me trying to do that, but he at least is not sticky.
Well, that's good.
Don't make flocked toys, please. Flocked is the worst.
And Shigs, you excited for any Funko Pops?
Be the Omega, but my collecting of those has gone way, way, way down.
Oh, I must have forgotten that you collected those.
Yeah, just the ones, just certain, very certain ones, even if it's Sonic related ones. Like our Target's got these exclusive 8-bit, pixelated style Sonics in Tails and Knuckles, and I just looked at those and go, no, I'm not touching that.
So,
it's gotta look like GX was saying, it's gotta look like the product it's originating from.
So, Shigs, you like superheroes?
Yes, I do.
You like DC?
Some my brother's nuts over DC. I like Marvel more.
All right. Well, then I guess this isn't for you. But we got a solicitation for the DC Sonic crossover comic, and it actually genuinely made me kind of more excited for it because Darkseid is coming to Sonic's world.
Cool.
Mobius. I'm just gonna call it Mobius.
That's a hell of a enemy for Sonic to have to handle.
Yes.
Like Eggman or the Deadly Six or anybody in there.
Like I figured, I don't know, it would be some original threat or something, or Lex Luthor, but no, it's freaking Darkseid. So here's a solicitation. It's a crossover event unlike any other. The monstrous Darkseid crosses dimensions to invade the world of Sonic the Hedgehog, seeking ultimate power. Sonic and his friends have faced everything, from mad scientists to ancient spirits, but the forces of Apocalypse may be too much for them. Thankfully, the full heroic might of the Justice League arrives to back them up. Don't miss part 1 of this unique crossover event. So Darkseid is invading Mobius. The Justice League is going to come to help, and so we're going to have Sonic characters just interacting with all of these DC characters. And it's going to have writing from Ian Flynn and art from Adam Bryce Thomas.
Okay.
Which, Adam Bryce Thomas, he is so good.
I'm hoping this is good. I have low expectations. I will read it though.
I have low expectations. Have you not seen the cover? You got like Sonic and Knuckles and Amy and Shadow and Tails just coming at you alongside.
My dude, you can put a bunch of characters on a cover. That's not what makes a good story. Like
yes, it is. Haven't you ever?
I'm sorry, I forgot I was talking.
Like one of those DC Marvel crossovers.
I'm sorry, I forgot I was talking to a Sonic fan.
I'm kidding. That DC Marvel crossover was garbage, but I do appreciate that this is just like a proper crossover. Like dimension hopping and everything. Because sometimes with these DC crossovers, they'll just like make an alt universe thing where it's like, oh yeah, Batman has always existed in the same world as the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but no, this is like a proper crossover. Although I wonder if it's going to be like the comic book counterparts of these characters, or if it's just going to be like something that's just completely disconnected. I
want the version of it where Lex Luthor steals 40 cakes. That's the version of this that I want.
I mean, Ian Flynn is writing this, so if there's Lex Luthor in it, that might
happen. I promise you, Ian Flynn is not above making that reference. But
like, I am wondering, like, is this all going to take place in Sonic's world, or are they getting jumping back and forth? But just the fact that They're just jumping to Darkseid is right off the bat, like one of the darker DC villains.
I mean, the problem is, who else could you get to fight Sonic? Like,
Lex Luthor.
Okay, you could have.
There's quite a few that would be a problem for him.
I think. Well, the problem is Lex Luthor would actually probably be the best choice because he would be the most Eggman adjacent villain in that universe. I would say
Brainiac would be because that's
Brainiac and Eggman would never get along. They would kill each other immediately. Like
Lex Luthor and Eggman would bond over beanballs.
I got it. You have Eggman, and then you have Egghead, the Batman villain. That's where we go with this.
That's only existed in the 1966 TV series.
Or you can have Eggman and you can have Dr. Ivo.
Oh dear God. Oh no. It's awful. It's been the same world the whole time. We've never known because they don't talk about it. They don't talk about Sonic's world because it turns out it's just the DC universe.
But you could always have had like Lex Luthor come in there and get a Chaos Emerald and like make a big old mech suit that's powered by Chaos Emerald and has like Krypton fists. Then he can fight Sonic and Superman.
Turns out there is a separation between classic Sonic and modern Sonic. It's whenever they had to do the New 52.
But I don't know. Like I said, Darkseid is a pretty dark and big villain for them to go with. So that off the bat really surprises me. But I'm really hoping that I'm really keen in seeing what like Dr. Eggman's involvement in this is going to be. Like, is he gonna like fight Darkseid or try to team up with him, or like are they gonna
be in it?
Like, I remember how good the Eggman Dr. Wily stuff was. Can he somehow do that with Eggman and Darkseid? Probably not.
He becomes really good friends with Condiment King and Calendar Man.
Oh God. Again, it's something I could see Ian Flynn doing, bringing in characters like that if he's allowed to. But I don't know, like Dr. Eggman works with Darkseid, then he gets betrayed, and they could do like the whole usual Eggman arc with that, maybe.
And it's all canonical to both universes.
I mean, I hope so. I hope that this is just like going to be in the Sonic lore somewhere.
Whenever we get to Sonic Frontiers 2, just Ian Flynn can't stop making references to it. Like, he will never name one of the characters, but it's like, man, remember that time that we fought with that... When we were fighting alongside that guy? He was really super, wasn't he? He was such a Superman or something.
And another villain they could have used was Reverse Flash.
We already have Shadow.
But okay, so, and this will also, by the way, this will also be 32 pages, so longer than IDW. Like that is how long their one shots typically are, and it's gonna be 5 of these. So again, I'm happy that we're gonna be getting Sonic comics with some length again.
We are approaching 2 hours 18 minutes. Are you going to discuss the Sonic Rider stuff?
Yes. So first, so to end this with some IDW stuff. Evan Stanley joining the Sonic lore team. We don't really know what that means, but hey, now she's a permanent member of Sega.
I think that's cool. It is cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
But more importantly for us is Sonic the Hedgehog. Shadow the Hedgehog is getting a one shot with IDW. That really reads like it's going to. What you say?
Not much of a surprise, and should have happened this year, to be honest.
I think it was because this whole solicitation reads like something that was supposed to come out for Halloween.
Oh no!
Okay,
the fearless year of Shadow will never end. Oh no! It's like Sonic's 30th anniversary. It doesn't stop.
So it's written by Kyle Fegley. And Shadow the Hedgehog is off on a solo adventure where he finds himself in an old isolated village away from the modern world. As strange happenings begin to occur, he finds haunting clues that point to a dark secret not only in the town, but among the villagers who inhabit it. Can Shadow escape their clutches and unravel the dark secrets of the village?
Okay.
So, like, I don't know, kind of feels like Resident Evil 4, but with Shadow.
The only thing on my mind whenever I'm walking down this trail is like, oh, it was probably a translation year all along. It's not the fearless year of Shadow, it's the fiscal year of Shadow.
Yeah. I think technically the Fearless Year of Shadow got announced in like April, didn't it?
Something like that. It probably is the fiscal. If it's April, then it really is the fiscal year of Shadow.
But this and the DC X Sonic comic are both coming in March. Okay. So to continue our comic discourse, we're going to be talking about the Sonic Riders Arc. Now, I'm pretty sure we've all been critical of IDW. I know I have been. I forget
on and off.
Shigs.
Like on and off. I still have a good like despite the fact that I'm just taking a break from it, like I still have general good vibes. The problem is I'm not 10 anymore, and I already am firmly established in what 10-year-old GX loved, and that was Archie, and I don't think I'm going to have the same relationship with a Sonic comic again that I did with that. But hey, if you're a kid now, I can see this being your entire world.
Although, like, I do think this is currently inferior to what Archie was doing in later years. But regardless, I found the Riders Arc to be pretty fun. Shigs, what about you?
Yeah, compared to recent long arcs, this has been one of the best ones in a while. Especially compared to all these meaningless one shots where nothing ever happens. This one, has some emotional moments. It's got some good story beats, and it's just all around fun. I mean, the main story of them trying to investigate what's going on the ship while Sonic's distracted by basically doing a whole Common Rider bit. It's a lot of fun. We finally got Lanolin's resolved with the great words not coming out of mouth properly.
Lanolin apologized.
Mimic. Yeah, she apologizes. I thought for a little bit, I thought she might go kind of heel,
I was hoping that Lanolin was going to be bitter about all this.
And he was,
I'm being honest.
Mimic was gaslighting her for so long, but then he got caught right in the middle of the everything.
I do love how he got caught, where it's all like he's trying to keep his cover, he's riding with the other diamond cutters, and then like his, and then like man, what's his name?
Keep forgetting. That's the one problem. This villain is
the possum.
Clutch.
Significant enough to Clutch the opossum. Yeah,
Clutch.
I keep forgetting his name.
Clutch comes up with the radio and says, "Mimic, come help me," and then Mimic just has to book it.
My favorite part of this issue, which was for some reason over a month late compared to some of the other ones, was Jet the Hawk basically being the hero of the story.
Yeah.
In several ways.
There are a decent number of good character moments here.
It's like all the anti-heroes are heroes in this one.
Yeah. Well, Surge, she gets her chance to attack Clutch, but of course she is attacking Sonic and Eggman and everybody else in the process, so because she doesn't give a crap. But Jet actually goes out of the way to make sure everybody uses their extreme gear to turn the ship, away from the city to destroy it, even though they're going to have to destroy the restoration.
I guess we should back up a little. So the final issue starts with so Clutch has sabotaged. Clutch has been found out by Restoration HQ, and he's on the verge of defeat. And so he sabotages their airship to crash into a nearby city after
in self-destruct mode too.
Yeah, after Jewel activates the self-destruct, which cannot be deactivated apparently. And so that just starts a whole mad dash to rescue everyone on the airship, to rescue everyone, to rescue all of the people who are in the stands, to keep the city safe, and and so Jet, yeah, he does play. He and the Babylon Rogues do play a core role in this as the people who kind of help really save the day here. They organize a bunch of the local people who are there in their flying cars and stuff, and they hitch themselves to the airship and they start moving it away from the city. So the Babylon Rogues actually do get their chance to be heroic, which is kind of surprising because, you know, like I guess they did get to have a moment like that in the Metal Virus arc.
To me, they've never really been villains. They're just, you know, sports rivals that are jerks.
They're very self-serving. They're very greedy and self-serving. So they won't like be outright villains, but they won't typically be heroic unless they really need to be. Like in the Metal Virus arc where the whole world was ending. This is all like, hey, but this was a lot like, hey, Jet Bean, hey, I got an idea. And then he organizes this whole thing. And you know, that was cool.
Nice Legolas Gimli moment where he loves to compete with Sonic so much that him and Sonic are competing with how many people they can rescue before the blimp smashes down.
So they're able to kind of redirect it, but it's still going to crash somewhere, and so they decide to crash it on top of Restoration HQ. And so yeah, Sonic and Jet compete to like evacuate everyone. And that's another like fun little moment between the two of them. And during all of this, of course, Surge has also kind of turned against Clutch, and she is sort of working on the side of the heroes, although she pieces out in the middle of all this. And Rough and Tumble basically become good guys, I guess.
Well, apparently they were. They just, because they didn't know, you know, that Clutch was a villain when they first started working for him.
And then they didn't know they could quit a job.
Heroes, they were just too stupid to realize they couldn't just quit a job. Yeah.
Well, that was fun. And I guess one thing I love about this arc in general was like Sonic having to use some subterfuge, and how the original characters, like man, what's the name of the owl? Night the Owl, and his boyfriend,
Don the Rooster.
Night the Owl and Don the Rooster really got to become their own characters in this, and like I enjoyed them in their little one-shot storyline, and they were equally as good here, and like as sort of like, you know, the secret ace in the hole for the heroes to undermine Clutch's efforts. And so like this arc was just full of great moments for both the original cast and the game cast. And I will admit that, like, at the end of the day, I did kind of feel like, yeah, this was good. Lots of things happened, lots of things moved. But this still isn't gripping me as much as I was hoping it would.
It needs more characters.
Like, yeah, speaking of character, I think Sonic was good in this. I was
insulting you, sir.
Sonic mostly did what he needed to do, but I think where things really kind of got let down was with Lanolin and the Diamond Cutters. Like, there was a lot of build-up to some potential drama between them regarding Sonic, and none of that was really paid off at the end. Like, Lanolin apologizes, and that was it.
I think that's something that might, you know, explore in the later.
I'm hoping that they do.
76 or 77, when it goes to a slower pace before whatever the next big arc is. Who knows? But yeah, I was kind of just a little disappointed in that. I still think this is a more fun arc than, say, the Metal Virus, which I thought was way too dark and went on for way too long.
I really enjoyed Metal Virus. My only real issue with that was the aftermath.
So I will bring up a larger thing, because, like I said, I didn't read it, but I'm picking up on like things. This this would imply then that Mimic was not the future betrayer?
Oh, yeah, I guess it would, wouldn't it? Huh. I forgot about that whole storyline.
We still don't know who that is.
So we now have an excuse to keep Silver around for reasons.
I mean, yeah. Like I never thought he was going anywhere. Like I figured he was just there to hang out.
That counts, even though it probably doesn't.
But like, let's see. Do I have anything else to say? Well, you know what? The Amy and Tails. They were fun, and they were fun to have around. And Jewel having a breakdown as like the restoration crumbles around her. That was sad to
around
watch.
her hometown as well.
No, Restoration HQ was just the city was just the thing that Amy brought her in to run, and she had gotten very good at it, and now it's faced a pretty serious setback. So I don't know.
See Belle get a scene where she isn't just having low self-esteem about herself or whatever.
Belle got a big confidence boost in this arc.
Yeah, she quickly, while the whole blimp's falling around, she quickly repaired a motor bug that she's got as a pet and taught it to fly so she can help rescue some people out of there as well.
Her, Tails, and the orangutan guy whose name I'm forgetting. Wrench? I don't know. But if future arcs do give us some interpersonal drama with the Diamond Cutters, like I'll forgive that. But as things stand, like that was the one thing that this arc did kind of flub on. I was really hoping that Lanolin would have a falling out with Sonic and the Diamond Cutters, and there'd be some drama there that they'd have to spend some time resolving. But no, and that is probably that is like a thing that I really wish IDW would give us a little bit of. I get that like, you know, Sonic has to be cheerful and happy all of the time because that's just how Sega wants him to be, but no reason for Lanolin to be.
Yeah, her being so strict while she's a newbie at being the leader is kind of an interesting, idea for her. It was making her interesting at that time.
Look, there has to be friction against Sonic. Like, there's a reason why Sally works, and it's because Sally and Sonic are pretty darn good foils. And you need someone to kind of stand against, like, Sonic being a confident jackass.
If I'm being honest, that's why a lot of stuff in Archie works. Like, even when Archie isn't being very good. That's one reason why I kind of like Jeffrey St. John, even though Ken Penders kind of retroactively made him a pedophile.
I'm not touching that.
Like, because I liked it when I liked it that Sonic had an embrace of personality.
Sonic was just one of the characters that wasn't necessarily, well, everything has to revolve around him.
Yeah.
Yeah, this arc it definitely did not. This
arc in many ways is probably the closest that it's gotten to Archie in a while.
And we know from the annual that Surge is still trying to be a hero and sucking at it.
Yeah, I do kind of appreciate having that knowledge going in, if I'm being honest.
Anyway,
so yeah, like
go on to the next news.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah,
you guys have 30 minutes to get through all of the Shadow news plus anything you want to say about Sonic 3.
Oh, that's pretty strict. Okay.
Can I be honest? I would eliminate the mobile tie-in stuff and just. Well,
I mean, the mobile tie-in stuff wasn't. Mobile tie-in stuff wasn't going to get that much.
Look, the most important thing is going to be what you guys think of the latest Sonic X Shadow Generations DLC.
I'm disappointed that it's not QX. I'm hoping that there's still a second act coming, but even if it isn't, the level is a lot of fun. Like, It's nice having getting some post launch level content for a Sonic game.
Yeah, and they try to pad it out with the little 2 mini level, challenges in there.
Yeah,
And searching for those posters.
And that new Westopolis remix is so good. Like, damn. Probably, like, I'm not a huge fan of the original Westopolis track, but this remix might be the best one in the game.
I liked whenever it would get weird in its pathing, where you could take something that would shoot you into an alcove that you would not see otherwise. What I didn't like is the big long stretches where it was incredibly linear. Where basically you were just on train tracks that moved forward, and I don't know, you can kind of figure out how to get around these barriers.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like
there were certain things where the game would just take over and do a cinematic scene for
Oh,
almost
that
like
that
a half a minute.
the
that
cinematic
part annoyed
scenes.
me.
The cinematic scenes are the one thing in this game that does kind of annoy me, because like it kind of interrupts the flow of the level.
It's very Sonic Forces.
And I really wish that, like, it was like, okay, you can get it here, but hey, you can also just like replay it, and then it's just not going to be there. But I don't even know how they do it. Like, I don't know, a quick black screen transition or something.
I think I think the balloon mission's interesting. I didn't much care for the ring mission. I thought that one was pretty bland.
I thought they were both technically ring missions, but balloon mission was fun.
It was fun. It was fun piloting Shadow to be like, oh, pop all these balloons in Tokyo.
But like, I enjoyed the brief train track section well enough, but certainly the highlight for me was like the underground section, because like there's a lot of areas where you can just like run up walls and stuff. And take some alternate pathing and shortcuts, which I really did appreciate. Let's
keep moving. What was your take on the Sonic Dream Team update?
What
was your take on the Sonic Dream Team update?
But Keanu Reeves' voice acting was bad.
I like it, but I thought, like, I'll agree, it doesn't feel fitting. But also, what I liked about it was just anytime he would say a Shadow line, that it was like, oh, yeah, I know this line. It was like, what was it? Like, now I'll show you the ultimate power, but it was just him and his sort of slightly flat intonation for it.
It sounded like they brought him into the studio and had him do one take.
And now I'll show you the ultimate power.
There's a part of me that got a chuckle that Keanu Reeves was in a booth going, "Ooh, yeah,
oh yeah, for sure."
Doing those little...
definitely the most awkward line was just when he was talking about the city is beautiful. It reminds me of Maria.
It's what Maria always would tell me about, or something like that.
But yeah, so it was, I don't know, it was just stiff and awkward, and it really does feel like it was probably just rushed. So, the Dream Team update. I know I'm the only person who played it, so let me just talk at you for this one.
Which is funny because I still subscribe to the Apple Arcade and I barely used it. I really gotta get back to it.
Shigs, you need to start playing Dream Team again. The daily levels are fun, and
I know.
The Shadow the Hedgehog content took some getting used to, but also fun and also very different from the rest of the game. So Shadow's whole thing is that Shadow's whole gameplay revolves around two moves, and that is Chaos Shift and Chaos Control. And Chaos Control, it does what you expect it to do. It freezes time. And you need to use it to freeze certain environmental objects that are otherwise moving too fast for you to jump onto. And part of the way you need to like pace yourself as you're running through the levels, like timing how to activate it properly, which you can do by either standing still, pressing the square button, or my preferred method, just stomping. Which will just activate, which is the easiest way to activate Chaos Control. But by far, like the most interesting new move is something called Chaos Shift, and that is a thing.
It's right next to Chaos Control.
Where Shadow will like.
Oh my god! I get the joke now.
Where Shadow will freeze in the air, suspended, and you have a targeting reticle, and you have to aim where he's going to land. And this can do two things. It can either just boost you through the air in a direction, or, and this is the way you're supposed to use it, you use it to land on a platform. And so if something's too high, you can use it to get some extra air and land on a platform that's too high. Or if there's a wall running segment that you have to get to, you use that to latch onto the wall and then boost forward. And at first, these mechanics felt pretty chunky, clunky. It felt weird. Felt clunky. There we go. It felt at first. These mechanics felt clunky to me.
Chonky mechanics.
But as I got used to how they worked, and the fact that I no longer had Sonic and Amy's air dash, I gradually learned how to implement that into the overall Sonic Dream Team moveset, and now I'm just like chaos shifting and chaos controlling all over the darn place, and it really helps the levels be very complex and three-dimensional. In a way that the other characters' levels couldn't quite be. And I find that to be interesting. Like, Shadow's daily levels are the most complex I've encountered in the game so far. And you have to completely change your mindset for them in order to play them well. Like, you will be chaos shifting constantly in order to get that S rank, because it's just a great way to get around to get around parts of the level where there's a lot of platforming. Like, it's a great way to like get the shortcuts, to save yourself from falling into pits, all this stuff. And pretty early on in this content, you can also unlock extended chaos control and double chaos shift. And double chaos shift just makes it even more versatile, because now you can shift yourself up into the air and then shift yourself again. And the coolest thing you can do with chaos shift is you can use that to really get around a level super quickly when you're trying to do something like collect the dream shards, because you can use it to like latch onto a wall. You can and then you can immediately use it to blast yourself somewhere else, and it really changes just how you move through the whole game. And so I do wonder if this is something that everyone is going to like, or if it's going to be divisive, because it can break up the flow of the gameplay. But I'm having fun with it. So okay, so Shadow has had some other brief mobile tie-ins as part of his overall end of year Fearless Year Shadow mobile strategy.
Do we have anything worth actually talking about here? Movie shadows in some mobile games. There.
Yeah, but movie shadow. But
I do not want to talk about Shadow and Angry Birds, please.
What you say?
I said I don't want to talk about Shadow and Angry Birds. Let's pass.
You know, not even their weird motion comic, because that's what I was going to talk about.
There's a weird motion comic. You can go watch it online. It's sort of entertaining that they made it, but it also looks bad and cheap.
It's this very awkward, weird looking thing that uses a lot of stock art for the Sonic characters, and it feels like this thing that's just kind of tying into this larger story, because they're talking about this character that they're trying to find, and they're being all serious about it. And it's just really awkward. And Shadow's such a dick in it.
Surprise! This series that looks like it's Flash animation, the comic that they made looks like Flash animation.
But yeah, it's weird. You can watch it on the official Angry Birds YouTube. All right, so
movie stuff.
The Sonic 3 launch week developments. So Dredd got to go to. So our boss Dredd did get to go to a premiere where he got to be in the vicinity of various actors. He actually got to watch the movie with what's his face, Idris Elba.
Why don't we save that for him to get to describe?
Okay. Are you hosting this now, or am I?
I'm pushing us forward. Is what I'm doing.
Okay, well, we're in
the
final stretch now, so let's stop because it's getting a little annoying.
I understand that, but we're also at 2 hours 40 minutes.
Okay. So, we had a bunch of things pop up in the lead up to the movie's release. That includes a Sonic 3 Christmas stop motion short, which Shigs, what do you think of that?
Cute.
It was cute, but dumb. It didn't really tell a meaningful story. But
the only thing that gave me a chuckle was Knuckles calling Santa Mr. Santana, and that was it.
However, yes, Knuckles is still MVP in the entire series, but also, hey,
Yes,
Santa was played by Wade's voice actor.
Adam Pally.
Adam Pally. Yep.
Wade doesn't have a voice actor. He has
his actor. His actor.
I don't know. I enjoyed Keanu Reeves' brief edgy appearance.
But he didn't do anything of interest. He just did.
Did he attach himself to the sleigh or something? Or how did he do that?
It was like, hey, now I'm here too, and then he ran off and stole something from Santa. It's like, okay, I guess this is like this is the whole vibe of it. Is like, it's not that it told a story; it's that a bunch of things happened and they wrote a song for it.
Yeah, and and Team Sonic saved Christmas.
Sure, but they also ruined
much,
Christmas. So
how much
I don't
can
know.
You say in 3 minutes. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, now of course the movie came out. We're in the middle of its opening weekend, and it seems to be doing extremely well for itself. It made a franchise best $6.5 million in previews. It's made $25.7 million for its opening day, which I think technically includes Thursday and Friday. And it's currently looking to make over $70 million at the box office and opened at number 1, significantly ahead of Mufasa. Which surprises the hell out of me. Like, I get everyone in my bubble hates The Lion King, but The Lion King is a $1 billion franchise.
It's weird that the live action Lion King, or live action is
the live action styled Lion King.
Yeah, let's just say realistic CG Lion King.
The second highest animated movie as far as box office receipts go, next to Inside Out 2. And here, this one, the sequel, which is an original story, is an absolute bomb.
Well, it's probably not going to bomb. We're still looking at $180 million internationally for its opening. In the U.S., its opening, it's looking to open at like $33 million.
If I had to take a guess, though, the difference between these two movies is, I bet Sonic was a lot cheaper to make and got a lot more profit out of it.
Yes, Sonic is going to be a lot cheaper, and it's going to make a lot more in the U.S. box office.
Disney's probably shooting themselves in the foot for not opening it on Christmas Day instead.
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah. I don't know. I figured that in a head-to-head between Disney and Sonic, Disney would win, but apparently that's not happening. And that's just weird. I was so confident they wouldn't get the right. They'd have to write those my fun headlines with, "Oh yeah, it's opening second place," blah blah blah, like Sonic. But no, it's not. It's doing very well
out there. I mean, I had a ruckus crowd at my theater, and this was 3 p.m. on Thursday in a small area in Oregon. In a small town area, and we still have people dressing up and hooting and hollering for everything that happened on screen.
I won't claim that I am not surprised by this, but I will at least add that, hey, MFers like Shadow. A lot of MFers like Shadow.
I will say, I was definitely watching with some Sonic fans, but it was a much emptier theater. But they were pretty quiet, and they really only got excited for the after credits, which we will not talk about. So like, yeah, so it's looking like Sonic 3 is going to be just as successful as the other movies.
People are going to be so shocked whenever it's a Merle.
And speaking of Sonic 3 doing well and continuing a trend,
for the record, that was also a joke. I haven't seen it.
It is also the now the highest rated video game movie ever.
Sure.
Currently, it's at 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, 92 reviews. Actually, I think it's 93 now. And like it's the first movie to be certified, the first Sonic movie to be certified fresh. And like again, so like in terms of the overall critical reception of these movies, I have always felt that these things have been walking a tightrope, where it's like, yeah, they like it. Just enough critics have liked it for Jim Carrey's antics or for the other stuff, to get these things decently good reviews. But eventually, you know, we're gonna have a movie that goes too far in one direction or the other. Most people are gonna hate it, and like, you know, at the very least, it will be a critical bomb. But instead, this thing is like rating like an MCU movie right now. from like, I suppose I should say from like Phase 2.
Sure, yeah. Like I don't like what these movies do, but I'm glad a lot of people are having a good time. I am glad that it feels like it's doing right by the people who it's doing better by way of the people who liked what they were doing in the previous movies.
And I will just say this. This movie had more of what I liked and less of what I didn't like. This is easily my favorite one.
There is... yeah, you get, you know, more of the video game characters, quite a bit less of the humans. And no wedding scenes that go on forever. Just pad out the runtime.
Just a lot of pod racing.
Although it does seem like, you know, the usual, we'll have the usual dividing lines of like, hey, do you like or hate Jim Carrey? And like, there's also a new one of, hey, do you like or hate the pacing? Which whether or not you like the pacing does seem to be pretty core to whether or not you'll like the movie. And that is something I noticed in the reviews as well when it comes to that stuff. So, one final piece of news.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it. Tell me. You're gonna keep it under 3 hours. Keep going, man. We're almost there.
What are you talking about?
We're still under 3 hours. You still got time.
I think we need to go back to that Shadow Mobile news.
We're getting to Sonic 4 in spring 2027.
So yeah,
we don't know anything about it.
Was announced before Sonic 3 even came out, and it's coming spring 2027.
He's on a steady schedule, aren't they? Like
sure
every 2.5 years.
But not an absurd schedule. Yeah, it's like that's a reasonable pace to have a sequel. You're not cramming them together. You're kind of giving them reasonable room to breathe.
Although I do wonder, like, are we gonna be? Do they have other things planned for the interim?
I mean, they're continuing to say like we want to do a Shadow, and then Idris Elba and Keanu Reeves are like, yeah, but what if we did a Knuckles and Shadow show? And it's like, as long as Wade's in it, I will be there to watch.
I hope there's zero Wade.
Oh, I hope there's more Wade than the first one. Somehow they will fit. I hope no. I hope Jack's in it. Like that was my pitch last time. Is like if they do a Shadow film, then I want him to team up with Jack Sinclair. That's my dream series.
Well, these are the things that would make sense to me. A Jim Carrey TV show about like a Robotnik origin story thing, and an animated series of some kind. But just for going by what you saying?
Knowing what we know, it's going to be hard to top this third one.
I don't know. Like for me, all you gotta do is remove Jim Carrey, and you're like most of the way there already. But like, just given how this movie ended, I am really excited for where they for where they go from here. And it does. I like. I'm like man. We're not going to discuss the post credit scene. We're not going to do that. But god damn it, I'm just looking forward to where we go from here. So
can't really discuss what we think 4 is going into, because that would have to require talking about the post credits.
Save that discussion for the next episode.
Yep.
Next episode will be all about Sonic 4, and
we
hopefully we'll have
the next episode is going to be all about the
Sonic 3.
Okay, so
we can speculate if it's going to have Sonic Prime characters and characters from the movie, and if it's going to be like All Stars Racing transformed.
But
we'll have all that speculation.
So yeah, so we are going to talk more about Sonic 4 in the next episode, which will be primarily about the Sonic 3 movie. We are going to have a couple guests on. We're still working out exactly who. We have a pretty good indication.
Probably
but,
you have to do it after Christmas, huh?
We're definitely doing it after Christmas. Because like one of our potential guests might not even see it until after Christmas. So yeah, like we're still working out when. But look forward to it. We're gonna get into all the spoilers, and hopefully one of the other guests will hate it so that we can have like some discussion.
I'll just
GX
sit in and
hate it.
or GX will not see it and then just make up stuff to be mad about. How's that for a...
No.
I really freaking hated the salad scene. The salad scene really sucked. It was
the salad scene was the best one.
No, when Jim Carrey had the salad stuck up it was just freaking insufferable and juvenile.
Shadow said revenge salad. It was a masterpiece.
You're such a child. You and your freaking all your characters. You just love that scene because Vector was in it. Oh my god.
All right, so that's our show.
Can I do my thing? Can I do my thing?
Yeah, do your thing.
Hey, everything that we do is under the banner of Sonic Stadium over at sonicstadium.org. We're one of the internet's oldest Sonic fan communities. We've got forums, we've got a Discord, we've got news coverage. Boy, do we have news coverage. We have so much news coverage. If you're watching on Twitch, we always appreciate that you give us a follow because, it lets you know when we're out here doing stuff. We're going to be having a holiday off, but we've got big stuff in the works. We've got plenty of other things coming at you. Hopefully another podcast really soon, but other things like Sega Sonic Radio, which is on hiatus, but not as long of a hiatus as was originally worried. But most significantly, hey, if you want to bug us, just hop on the Discord. I'm sure you can bug me all the time, but sometimes Knuckles is there, and you can bug him as well, and it's great. And yeah, if you're watching on YouTube,
if you bug me and you get into an argument with me, I'm not going to shut up. So,
I've
just be ready for that.
I've had to learn how to self-moderate sometimes over there. I am not always great at that, but I have gotten better at walking away from an argument that I don't think is going to resolve in a meaningful way.
I'm extremely stubborn.
However, all that said, if you're watching on YouTube, we always appreciate a like, subscribe, a comment. Just like I said, it lets the computer algorithms tell the internet that hey, we like this thing that they do, and we would like to see more of it, and we would like other people to see it. But most of all, if you like what we do, just you have someone who you think would also like it, just tell them and say, hey, we think that these people do cool things. Why don't you go check them out? And that's always appreciated. So with that, close us out, sir.
Okay, so you can catch my stuff on Sonic Stadium.
You can catch my stuff at sonicstadium.org as well.
Yeah, I upload gameplay videos to our YouTube, and I write lots of news. I would love to have more time for editorials, but that hasn't happened yet. So maybe next year.
Oh boy, so much news.
And
Will
Shigs,
next year be quiet?
no, next year
Probably not
we're
even
literally
next
having
week.
we are literally having a DC Sonic crossover next year. You think it's going to be quiet?
But at least there's not a movie coming out.
Yeah, but there might be other things. We at least have a game. So Shigs, anything?
No, that's it for now. I mean, continue checking out the site for the latest news, which is constantly updating so much that that's why the reason why you had to do a second episode in a
Yeah,
month.
yep. And I was
Hopefully
ready
it'll
to
be
do
dying
that.
down in January. Wouldn't get too much, although I have a feeling that Nintendo Switch 2 announcement is just around the corner.
And if you don't count the Twitch countdown, then we are under 3 hours. Bye, everyone.
See you next time.
I don't count the Twitch countdown, but yeah, see ya.